theory crafting, but one thing we do have to go through is our map ban. Let's put them up on the screen again. 7 map pool, ban, pick, ban, decider, demo, take it away.
Clubhouse ban from MIBR, respect. I think we've seen TSM yesterday, they banned Clubhouse against NIP and it did wonders for them. NIP, they were 8-0 on Clubhouse. You need to remove that map straight away, so I'm really happy to see MIBR go out of their way to do that. Oh, a Kafe and a Coastline. These are the same 2 maps that I believe that NIP had against TSM yesterday.
Yep, NIP are going to be familiar with these 2 maps indeed. And it is going to be MIBR to take them to Kafe. So MIBR obviously feeling like they've done a little bit of homework there. They're going to be more than happy to meet NIP in the field on Kafe. Coastline, it's been a bit 50-50 of late for NIP. They haven't had the greatest success on there, despite it historically being a very good map for them.
But then again, neither of MIBR, so that's probably a reason why I think NIP have went for that pickup.
Well, there's the big question again. LATAM v LATAM, who can survive? NIP? Will it be them, the team that has won the last Invitational? Can they make it deeper into the tournament and be at least on equal footing with G2, the only other team that has ever won 2 SIs, and that's about it? Or will MIBR survive, dig their heels in, and then move it through the lower bracket, go up against SSG? Big questions on everybody's minds. Let's answer them in game. OXGV, MNM, NIP, MIBR. Thanks so much, boys. Let's go into game.
All right, well, it's time to start off our stream with MIBR versus Ninjas in Pyjamas. You might have seen them quite often facing off against each other in Brazil, but on an international stage, the stakes are significantly higher. The defending world champions, a bit of a shocker yesterday, getting shoved down to the lower bracket, and now here they are. They need a miracle run through the entirety of the lower bracket to make it to the finals. But if there's a team that knows adversity and has made a lower bracket run before, it's Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Yeah, and they're going to start off with that journey in a bit of an interesting fashion, right? The last matchup that they had from the side of NIP was TSM. And that was a 1-7 Kafe loss and 5-7 Coastline loss. What do you know? The first 2 maps of this best of 3 will be Kafe and will be Coastline. So you've just played these exact maps. It really didn't go your way, and now you're still confident to take MIBR to that same turf. And I think this kind of speaks to the experience of, well, LATAM knowing LATAM, right? NIP, MIBR, they play all day, every day in their domestic region. They should know each other a lot better than the likes of, let's say, NIP and TSM, where, well, that was a stump. This one, if you're NIP, if you're an NIP fan, if you want to make that lower bracket run, well, you need to get a different result. And NIP, they have the lowest defender win rate at this entire event so far, which is kind of odd when you say that they're the current reigning world champions. But they've also played Kafe a lot, they played Bank a lot, they played Coastline a lot. Most of these maps are actually attacker favorites, so you can say NIP they suck in defense. But if you look at the maps, you look at the context to these numbers, they have played attacker favorite maps. We're starting off on Kafe. It is right now dead even 50-50 for defense and for attack. It swayed back and forth. And now, gonna be going through the operator bans. It's Flores off the board, followed by the Nomad, and we'll see the last 2 defenders.
Mira going out in the bans here would completely change the way that this map works. I don't know if that's what we're going to see. Noah Wamai, I gotta think that Nip is going to take out Valkyrie, which if that's the case, Amira still in play will change up how a lot of these bomb sites are used. It will empower that middle floor defense of either reading or mining. But there you go. No, Valkyrie will be available. It's the Mira that gets banned out. So if you're going to be defending above, you've got access to those Valk cams. Valkyrie is a very strong operator for both of these teams. She gets highlighted quite often as being one of the top fragging operators on defense for Latin America. One of the best Valkyries that we've ever seen is in the hands of Psycho. Don't know if that's the same role that he's going to play here on defense. Wait for him to lock it in. But the fact that she's available is huge. And yes, there you go. Psycho locking in the Valkyrie right away. Wamai and Mira, the 2 defenders to join Flores and Nomad, as you talked about. Thatcher is available. All Hard Breachers are available. Finka is available. Her ban rate yesterday was also quite high.
Very high.
Only 1 Hard Breacher being brought by MIBR. There's no contingency plan for them. If they lose the ace of Falls, who seem to have some issues 6 picking onto that operator, if they lose that ace, they could be in significant trouble.
They could. Usually this is the approach for most teams, right? You want to get that long-range hard breach, that will be the ace. Thatcher being followed up because, again, as you mentioned, it is open. You have many different ways to break apart the defenses, rendering that mute rather useless. will be a reading defense on this first round. We'll see a, I'll say, slightly very, very common setup. It's the Mute, the Castle, the Valkyrie, the Smoke, the Melusi. The only odd one out here is the Valkyrie. Not because she wouldn't play her, it's just that she's usually banned. So seeing her is a welcome change. Psycho, very familiar with that operator as well. Psycho himself, as the analyst has pointed out, hasn't really had a fantastic Invitational so far. It's been the Pino show from the setup NIP and Felipox from the setup MIBR. Those are our head-to-head matchup looking into this match, and I mean, Felipox on the finger already, really looking to be in that gunner position. When we speak of like the highest entries or highest gunning potential players, we usually see them on the finger. That's been the norm for quite some time now. You get great weapon, you get nades, you get that adrenal surge gadget that can really boost up your teammates, heal yourself, etc. And you can pick these gunfights with a lot of confidence, knowing that, well, right before you take it, you overheal. Right before you take the fight, you boost yourself up, granting yourself just even more confidence going into that fight. There it is. Jump out gets punished. Felipox, Psycho, well, that's the opening kill going in one way, and Psycho not looking too hot so far this event, not looking too hot so far this map.
Felipox was the player from MIBR that was shown off at the top of the broadcast by the analyst desk for how good he is on this team, and of course, running on the Finca. She has been a very strong operator, pivotally so for a lot of these teams. It allows you and empowers you in the way that you want to pull off this execute. And there you go. Raduk takes out Pino immediately, refragged by Kamikaze. Still, numbers advantage for MIBR because they picked off Psycho when he went for the run out. This leaves Kamikaze in a very precarious position, playing over by the piano, and he's got one toxic canister left. The tussle with Falls on Repel. Kamikaze pinched by Raps. MIBR looking quite lethal on their entry at the moment. This has forced NIP to get far more aggressive as to how they want to defend this map. And immediately, it's pushed Musi up. And he can get the Zofia, sees the hand, turns towards the opening, but can't do it all that much. Worried about somebody playing down by Reading Door. Here's a break open. Back over to the Reading Bomb site, where all of the action seems to have occurred. What?
Is that a little rotate?
I mean, good for him. At that point, you give yourself away. You have to rely an awful lot on Musi to keep this together.
Absolutely. Now that means that one player off NIP is off the bomb side. MIBR, they know this. They try to get aggressive, but now they recognize that, oh, a little bit too fast. Slow it back down. Felipox, oh, so low on health, gets the boost. Also gives away the sound. Doesn't want to get the gunfight. We still have grenades. We still have utility. MIBR, we can play it slow, or we can continue up with the pace. Falls, finds Studio, leaving Musi in a 1v3 inside of Pillar.
There he goes with the body still above him. MIBR doesn't seem to be too close to being able to pull off the execute just yet. The Ace of falls into the bomb site, and Musi spotted by Felipox. Simply too many angles to cover a deflating start by Ninjas in Pyjamas as they give a life away early on. Psycho trying to set the tone, jumping out the window, unsuccessful in that. MIBR take the advantage. They never lose it.
I like that you said that, set the tone. Well, if Psycho had jumped out and actually gotten the kill onto Felipox, that entire round takes a very different turn, right? That's arguably the star player of MIBR off the board. It's the finger off the board, and it's not going to allow MIBR to really dictate that round. But because it was MIBR that got the opening kill instead, they kept up that aggression, and it was such a quick entry. They dropped the hatches, they found the picks inside piano, they cleared out cigar, etc. It was a back and forth trade, but because of that particular opening kill, well, in MIBR, they had the man advantage the entire way through till the very end in that 1 versus 3, and that makes your life very difficult if you're Musi, as you had no help from anybody else. Reading is done and dusted. Up above we go. Cocktail is next. We're actually seeing, well, a little bit of a change. It'll be Pino this time on Rooney, and Musi taking his turn on the castle. Julo still on the mute. Still see Kamikaze and Psycho on their respected operators as well. Nothing really crazy changing up from the setup of MIBR. We are bringing the Ash, we are bringing the Thatcher, etc. Falls still bringing the Ace. And Falls, been very formidable this tournament, I will say, has really impressed me so far. We cast 2 of their matchups earlier on at this event, and at first I was like, well, it's another Brazilian support player, right? We have Souls from FaZe, who we speak very highly of, and I'm thinking, well, how much talent can MIBR or Latin produce in the supporting department? Well, the answer is, they can produce too much, if you will, and that's why we've seen a Latin supremacy for the last 6 or so months, because they've been pumping out so many different rosters, so much talent, and playing so well. Now at Invite, it's not really the same story. They've done okay, they've done good, but they haven't been like, wow, it's the Latam show. It's actually North America yesterday that had the arguably best showing for their region, getting 2 teams to win in the upper bracket to continue on forward.
I mean, 4 of the 5 NA teams, all of which made it out of the group stages. Every single region except for North America had 1 team get knocked out. We said goodbye to 2 APAC teams, we said goodbye to 1 LATAM team, and we said goodbye to a European team. BDS first to go, Sandbox Team 1 followed, and then Cyclops was the last team to depart. Today, for those of you that didn't watch the desk segment, we are going from 16 teams down to 8. Yes, we are narrowing the field quite extensively, cutting it in half.
That's wild.
In this matchup, the loser goes home. The winner goes on to face Space Station, and the loser of that match goes home. Additionally, if you're not watching twitch.tv/Rainbow6, there are other matches going on over there as well. That's an OXG M&M Gaming matchup. The loser of that will also go home. So a lot on the line for the teams at this exact moment. MIBR came in through the qualifier. They were never seen as a particularly dominant team, nor really considered in conversation to either win their group or advance into the upper bracket. When looking at this region of Latin America, the 2 big names that get floated the most have been Liquid and FaZe.
Yeah.
They played yesterday, Liquid slaughtered FaZe, and it shoved FaZe down to the lower bracket, and God help those teams down there. NIP might have had a somewhat disappointing group stage by their own standards as the defending world champions. They did not show that same fire that they did previously, but they are always in contention. You can never count them out. If MIBR can take this first map of Kafe, MIBR's pick, they'll be in great position. Then moving on to Coastline, which frankly at this event has not been a good map for either of these teams.
No, it hasn't. We see now a little bit of different pace, but still same story. MIBR getting the opening kill. That's Pino off the board. That's a nade going out. Philipbox getting another, but Psycho really trades it back. We're looking to get aggressive, but there's no one really there to answer. MIBR, they're mostly the other half of the map. That means they have complete side control. They're going to be planting, and no one from NIP is even close to side. Julio's down below, shotgun in hand, no C4. I mean, you got to go up the staircase now and try and retake, but they're not going to let you do that because there's a guy right here. Oh, Julio, nice shot. That's not enough. Raps is there to follow up, and that's another round for MIBR. 2-0. It's a very, very quick pace we're setting. Once that opening kill goes through, we're just getting super explosive.
Yes, MIBR are trying to get the first pick. If they can get it or move forward, then they continue to steamroll. Immediately take up ground, take up that map control. It was a lot easier for them. They had an opening pick in round number 1. That was the Psycho jump out, for those of you that might recall. As for that previous round that we just witnessed, far cleaner, far more methodical. And I gotta say, MIBR are focusing on taking out the players closest to the bomb site and leaving the roamers. Now, this is these are 2 rounds in a row where every single player of Ninjas in Pyjamas left at the last second have been on their own, nowhere nearby the action. You pointed that out. Julio down underneath the bomb site, likely playing for the post plant with a nitro cell in hand, incapable of doing that. So if you can't play for that post plant, where do you go? Well, you try to come up the stairs. Kafe's biggest weakness for the defenders is that it is very easy to box you out on how vertical a map it is. You stick 1 player on 1 stairwell, you stick 1 player on another. If a Nomad is available, you shoot out an air jab. If Gridlock gets played, which is, we've seen some play of her on Kafe, not in this event, at least not that I can recall, but we've definitely seen her before on Kafe. It's a lot harder for you to retake. MIBR get the first opening picks. They control the stairwells. NIP's retake strategy, either because it's a deliberate strategy or because they scramble, it's not really working all that well. They're going to have to change something up. They've gone to a far more linear bomb site now as they're defending the kitchen bomb site on the first floor.
Yeah, to speak to the statistical numbers of NIP, out of every single team here, even the ones that have gone home, NIP, they have the lowest success rate on opening kills on their defensive side. Only 37% of the time do they get the opening kill. That is abysmal numbers. The average, I believe, is like 56%, so they're almost 20% below the average, and there's no one even close to them in that area. And NIP, they do better on attack, but they do play majority of their rounds on defense 4 versus 5, and I think that kind of speaks to how they've struggled throughout this tournament, because when you're playing 4 versus 5 and you have a team that depends on like gunplay and really getting those kills and trading back and forth, well, that's going to be a lot more difficult. We see it now again. Injured, down, first player, once again, Raps finding it, Psycho falling from it. Similar story, third time in a row. NIP will be holding on, but as Nades comes out, it'll be more difficult for them. No ADSs to protect. There's a Banshee, but no one's walking in. That means that is not going to be activated. And C4 comes out, but it doesn't even get to explode because there's another one from the side of MIBR.
But the wall is opened up.
Yeah.
From Small Bakery. How do you not know that it's opened up? And now NIP will have to swing for the fences. They know that they're on their back foot, so you have to get a little bit crazy. Take whatever you have and try to narrow those numbers down. And it works out for Kamikaze. Rayduct falls, but not after that wall's already been opened up. Now Smokes will stop entry from the main doorway, half the round to go. Julio reassessing this spot, going up towards the front counter in Bakery. NIP are getting really aggressive here, and I think they've assessed that the only real way for them to challenge MIBR is to meet that aggression head on.
Absolutely, and I mean, again, they're good at playing 4v5, they're good at playing with numbers down, but now I see MIBR playing a good game here, saying, slow down the pace, get out thin on the map, 2 players flanking Garrett's side. I don't think they have a lot of information, they don't really have a lot of drones available to them. There's only 4 left with a minute to go, and Philipbox will hold down the angle while the Ash walks up above to maybe do some vertical destruction or come down that brown staircase. MIBR, they want to collapse. 2 players on red side, 2 players on Garrett's side. They want to take out Musi on this VIP location and then move forward. But time is against them, and 1 toxic babe to go from Kamikaze. NIP, they can hold the ground.
MIBR are all spread out now as well. It certainly looked like it was shaping up for an execute onto that front of Bakery, but instead, there's been a small change, but the change will happen yet again. Ninjas in Pyjamas are primed and ready. 2 of their last remaining players staring at the back of the bomb site. MIBR are caught in mid-rotation. They put Luke at above. Down goes Philipbox. Kamikaze coming in clutch right now with these 2 big kills. No third available for him. Falls is the superior player. He picks up that diffuser. Will now need to work his way into the bomb site. Julio watching that prep window as Musi is engaged elsewhere. MIBR know that they've isolated him. Big round for Julio, a 2-piece, and it's Musi just to stay alive and give the round to Ninjas in Pyjamas. Hugely impactful round from Julio through the final 10 seconds to save it for his team.
It is that end round, looking a lot cleaner for an IP, but extremely scrappy early round. You're sitting dogs and you're getting shut down, then you start swinging, you're getting active and you're winning your gunfights. Kamikaze, good opening kill for his team on that refrag into the Small Bakery window. But that was really only way in you have as an IP. Match the aggression and hope that you just aim better. That's not reliable.
I don't like this early timeout from
Very
Ninjas in
early.
Pyjamas. The one thing that we've been most concerned with for NIP at this event, and yeah, there's some concern here for us, is that Ninjas in Pyjamas mentally have not looked like they're in a lot of these matches. Whether it's been them complaining on Twitter, whether it's been them not typing GG on Twitter or saying it to their opponents, NIP's mental state looks especially fragile, and they look rattled more often than not. I don't know, and I'm not going to try to pretend that I know what's going on behind the scenes, if there's maybe team issues, but even now, just looking at their faces, this is not a happy team. This is not a team that looks particularly well composed. They don't look happy at all.
Oh.
And that stress, that concern, not ideal. They can tilt. If they tilt, they lose the plot of the game, and most of this is mental. That's something about this.
Look at the coach. He's trying really hard to engage his players, right? Pats on the back, fist bumps. Come on, guys, bring the energy up. They're also being rather quiet. I mean, they just won the round. I didn't personally hear them. Normally, when NIP is doing good and they're in the groove, much like SSG, they are emotionally extremely loud, right? Cheering, really screaming at your opponent and bringing that energy. And I know it's early. It's a bit past 10 a.m. But come on, we got a game to play. And if you lose, you are out. Being the current reigning world champions, it does add a ton of pressure on the side of the expectations, right? You're coming in, you're not expected to win per se, but obviously every single person and yourself, you are thinking, well, if you won it last time, you should at least go to that grand finals and defend your title if anything. And NIP, well, when you get a scrappy beginning, as they did, losing to Sandbox Gaming, then losing to Empire, then beating M&M, you know, a completely brand new green team with, you know, very young players who's never really met each other before at a LAN location, well, that's a scrappy one. Then you beat the Sonics. That was an 8-6 Coastline, 8-6 Clubhouse, extremely tight series, so you barely won. And then you get slaughtered by TSM 1-7, 5-7. TSM was up 6-1, I believe, before they started that initial comeback on Coastline. Then they managed to get 5 rounds total, but then they lost again. So NIP, it has been a rough journey here. And yeah, they haven't been in the best of mental states by the looks of it at least. I would say that they've made a lower bracket run before. They can do it again. We know how capable these players are. They've proven it multiple times. But MIBR right now, they're looking to set the tone of this match as they are continuing up the aggression. Progression to the building fast. NIP respecting it. Not really going for spawn peaks after that first jump out in that first beginning round from Psycho. That's the only early aggression we've seen from them. It's always been MIBR striking first. Round 4. We are on a reading bomb site. We're going through the, not full rotation, we're missing mining, but we are going from reading to top to kitchen and then back to reading.
Well, they like this rotation, and I mean, all 4 bomb sites are played here on Kafe. You can obviously see them go to mining, though some teams ought not to. Instead, the reading bomb site will go in favor of the defenders more often than we will see that meeting site go. Reading being nice and secure, you're going to play it very similarly to the way that Cocktail is played out, which is defending upstairs by the Cocktail bomb site, playing over towards the white stairs and white hallway positions as well. You can get a little bit more aggressive. We saw Kamikaze playing inside a cigar, for example.
Yeah, actually, Mining Dining is the highest success rate bomb site on this map, but it doesn't get played very often. So I think it's more like you're preparing very specifically for it, you're bringing out pocket strats, and therefore it might be working better. Whereas the bomb sites, well, they see much more play, both on defense and on attack, so teams are more well-versed and more, they expect what to come. But now we see MIBR once again rushing into side, trying to get the plant down, but no, it'll be guns trading back and forth, but most of the side of NIP. 3 versus 5 now, so MIBR slowing down. The player inside of Dining, he's gone as well now too. Nice shot from Kamikaze. That leaves Raps and Lukid all alone. Lukid actually all above. That means both players are super isolated. NIP, well, they got a lot of guns to come for here.
That's a rough go for MIBR. They wanted to go for the throat, go for the jugular on Nip. All they really lost on Nip's side was the HP of Psycho. Outside of that, Ninjas and Pyjamas just need to hang on. This other toxic canister that's now been tossed on out. Kamikaze doesn't have any available. That means that the denial will come in the hands of the Nitro Cell from the Valkyrie of Psycho. If he dies early, there is nothing stopping a plant from going down. The good news, if you're Ninjas in Pyjamas, is that you have such a huge advantage that you don't necessarily need to stop it in its tracks. Pino falls to Lukid just a second ago. So MIBR have at least made it a little bit more winnable. But Lukid will come face-to-face with the Malusi. Is he out of range of the Banshee? That's the real question. Down goes Lukid to Julio. Multiple eyes from Nip looking towards one of the last 2 players of MIBR, and it's all now up to Raps. In a 1v4, Nip after that timeout. Maybe they built up some confidence, but you got to give a hand to MIBR going for a different strategy here. Julio gets the final kill, and that's the round. It was really just a technicality as Nip had seemingly won it earlier on. Still no excitement from the bench of Ninjas in Pyjamas, even though they've tied it up.
Yeah, that was a rush from MIBR. Very obviously got shut down by NIP. They actually had more people on site, I think, than MIBR expected because there were so many guns holding that single doorway entry, and we see it here. They did make it quite deep into side, but one player inside of Laundry, one person playing default, one person came down the white stairs, and that just meant Luke was all above, all alone. And MIBR, well, they didn't go for a plant strat. They actually went deep, tried to find the picks, tried to flood out the bomb site. They had to do it, because otherwise there's vertical above you. It's a nice try, but it's again, the 50-50 gunfights, those 1 versus 1s, that's exactly where NIP are the strongest. And I think in MIBR, they arguably have better team play. So if you can play into that favor as an attacker and play more tied together in formation, I do think you're going to be in a better position than just brawling with NIP. They want to brawl, they want to get down there and juggle. So don't let them. Psycho, Valkyrie every single round. We're still going that same bomb site rotation. Back to top floor. Gonna be a bomb site, or sorry, a piano cigar hold like before. We're gonna be setting up the castle barricades. Most likely gonna see Kamikaze on that smoke playing cigar later on the round. You see Muzi running around, putting down the castle barricades, the runic gates, etc. Very standard stuff. There is a sledge from the side of MIBR to answer as well. Get on those repels, break the castle barricades, open up the angles, and make the defenders feel more pressured. Last time it was actually an MIBR victory on this attack. They got the opening picks, and once they do get those, it gets a lot easier for them. And NIP, when they get the opening pick, well, it gets a lot easier for them. So playing 5v4 is really advantageous.
In the last year, Ninjas in Pyjamas and MIBR have played each other a total of 6 times, and it has been a dead heat. A 3-3 scoreline for these teams in terms of the matches that they played, but I do want to say one thing. 5 of those matches were best of 1s. Only 1 of those matches was a best of 3, and it was Ninjas in Pyjamas who came out ahead of that. That was actually all the way back in the 6 Invitational last year.
Oh, okay.
So other than that, They're only playing best of ones. That's the way that BR6 goes. It's the way that they've played them in the group stages as well. So these teams relatively evenly matched over the course of the last year. It really does come down to the map pool and who just has a better day. One of the stories that we've looked at is for these earlier matchups, and for teams that are only playing one match a day, they might not start off quite strong, and they might start off on the wrong footing, and it can be really difficult for you to catch yourself while you're falling and be able to reorient yourself before you hit the ground, maybe hit the ground somewhat gracefully. So both these teams, they have their hands full, and I honestly think that even though NIP is historically one of the best teams that we've seen at the Six Invitational, that it's a relatively even match here. I would not be surprised if we go to the decider, but before we get there, we still have a long road to go on. As you talked about, the site rotation for Ninjas in Pyjamas, now we'll bring them back upstairs to Cocktail, and there's a lot of utility that MIBR is going to have to cut through. Castles, ADSs, and Aruni gates.
Yeah, but they've done most of the work so far. They're actually inside a piano with Psycho lurking down below. That's those black eye Valkyrie cameras giving information. That's going to be a prep C4 on the ground most likely. And with that Valkyrie camera inside a piano, they can call exactly when to pop it. We actually have a call in G2 that was dog, the animal. So if you call dog, well, that's pop the C4 that's pre-placed. And you have two, you have dog and cat, right? Very distinct callouts. You see it here, Psycho himself checking the cam. Not ideal, but it doesn't matter. Muzi finds the opening pick once again for NIP, 2 back-to-back rounds, but quickly traded back by Philippox. Psycho still looking for that C4 kill, pops it, does not land, does not get the kill, but Muzi finds another yet again.
And there you go. So, Ninjas in Pyjamas put together 2 rounds. Lucan has the diffuser just in front of him. There goes one of the castle barricades. And so does Radok. Muzi swings. NIP are just exhibiting a full court press. That nade goes off and does not do any damage whatsoever. Philippox walks on in, takes out Muzi, but he gets gunned down. Could have adrenal surged himself back, but he's not quite quick enough to the punch. Psycho with the kill. 3 rounds for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They're still not particularly energized here, but at least they've got the lead.
Yeah, and I actually spoke to the coach of M&M this morning, and we spoke about how having the first game might affect teams, but not the way we expected necessarily. I know that there's this thing where esports players, you know, they wake up at 1 p.m., so when they have a 10 a.m. game, they can't perform, etc. And he was laughing when I said that because he's like, that's true in some cases of the stereotype, but the issue right now is actually finding practices before 10 a.m. is extremely difficult. If you cannot, make an agreement with another team here at the Six Invitationals, I really don't expect any teams in Europe to wake up at 8 or 9 a.m. to warm you up in a scrim because it's way too early. Typically, professional teams, they will practice in the early afternoon, 1 or 2 p.m. start, then they'll do the 3 maps, then they'll have a little break, do 3 more maps in the evening. That's the prime hours. So here at Invite, I do think that for some teams, for some players, the warm-up is happening right now in this server. So at best of 3, the first map can always look a little bit scrappy from both sides because they're still getting into it, right? And we might just see that kind of unfold. NIP that have really snoozer first 2 rounds, if you will. They didn't respond much to the side of MIBR. They were just kind of getting shot and taking it. But now they're really fighting back, and they've clawed back 3 rounds in a row, 2 opening kills back-to-back as well. And they're now showing us that mining bomb site that we spoke of earlier. It has the highest defender win rate of all the bomb sites on Kafe at 60% in favor of defenders, but only played half as often as the second least picked bomb site. So, pocket strats is the name of the game, and we see Pino now playing the castle. It's been him and Muzi trading back and forth. And they're bringing it to every single bomb site except for basement, really speaking to that you want to deny angles from MIBR. You're going to create safe zones for the defenders so that if somebody's in a certain area, they'll have to break the castle barricade, spend time, spend utility, and just like that, Sledge will open up the hatches. MIBR going for a top-down take, extremely common, just as we expected.
Well, a lot of presence on that top floor, as we've talked about. Ninjas in Pyjamas do like this stead up here, and they've got castle barricades and mute jammers to at least somewhat slow down whatever execute might come on in. It's a telltale sign of Selma's going off, and I don't know exactly what wall falls through it on. I think it was, yep, there it is, the top of red. So you can bypass the mute jammer that's on that bookshelf, as you can see. Or it's not really a bookshelf. I guess that's like just like a hutch, whatever you want to call it.
It's a weird one.
China cabinet. It's for your nice China wares, I guess.
Yeah.
But oh, nice shot by Lucan to walk right in. Guns down Pino and say goodbye to the first player from Ninjas in Pyjamas. Now you've got so much control just from that alone. Kamikaze rotate outside. He's got the attention of MIBR players, allowing Muzi to creep up, take advantage of that blind spot. Lucan had been punished by a Nitrocell as well, but Falls and Raps have both lost HP in that skirmish.
So now vertical C4 from Psycho. This time no Valkyrie on the board, but C4 still strikes true. Redux, Soar playing inside the bathroom, will scan him, see where he is, they can find him. Philipox and Raps on the white side of things, but no, NIP, they've all dropped down below. There's 3 of them left, all on the first floor, or second floor should I say. There is no basement on this one. One inside a laundry, one inside a train, one inside of hell, as we call it, at least where I call it, below that new hatch balcony drop. That's a very prime position to be in, but if you get droned out or if that Jackal sees you, you are as good as dead.
Absolutely, and Julio has been so clutch through this tournament. I'll wait there in that position. Hell, of course, underneath the new Valk, as you said, because a lot of people call it heaven, then some people call it hell.
Yeah.
It's very simple stuff. MIBR still with control from above. Your eyes are not deceiving you. Ninjas in Pyjamas have now gotten all 4 bomb sites. When Selma goes off to give a line of sight down below to where that default cam would be. It can also grab or rotate through the main hallway. I'm not sure if I'm very comfortable or confident with that Selma because the sledge is in action. There he goes and immediately makes the hole larger. Now Raps is still above, and look at that. They have not opened the hatch. This is a deliberate effort, but it gives you a line of sight and a potential kill hole down into that dining room. Grenade goes out. Not a lot of time for MIBR. These teams are taking their sweet time with one another. Another nade goes down. Kamikaze rotating on in. He's the only body that's up for Ninjas in Pyjamas now as Julio and Psycho are both down. Kamikaze will spray away. He's got the marks, but there's a hard wall there. Not much he can do. Instead, the diffuser will go down and Psycho will be brought back to full HP. Julio at this point looks almost certainly unretrievable. But will you have enough time? There goes Rayduct, so getting the Goyo up, proving to be quite good. Psycho is down for the count. Kamikaze will see Julio crawling towards him, but this is looking mighty grim. Will you have time to pick him back up? No information whatsoever by Kamikaze, so he will will another one of the down but not out players back into action. Raps through the wall. Nice shot by Kamikaze, but these are impactless kills. Try as you might, Kamikaze. That was a suicide mission, just as the name would suggest, and you brought a couple of them down with you, but MIBR still walks away with the round in the first half. Is 3-3.
Kamikaze on that revive duty, picking up 2 players in the fray of battle right there. And well, he only really managed to get one of them fully up because unfortunately Julio, well, on that halfway point, unfortunately a wallbang came through and, well, they traded back and forward to kill each, but still, it was a nice try. Time was really taken away from both teams. MIBR planted with less than 10 seconds on the board, and we saw that Kamikaze started reviving his second teammate with 22 seconds left as well, so both kind of playing it slower. Now we got the side swap, 3-3, dead even here, as we'll be seeing MIBR on the defensive side, 6ing off the smoke onto a Valkyrie on his top floor bar defense. You don't really need the smoke here, so it's not like a really, really odd pick, but the smoke is nice. You can stall and really punish your opponent if they play it slower. NIP I would expect to play fast, that's usually the name of the game for them, especially on their attacking side of things where they know what they want to do. And I could really see NIP getting in and getting bloody, just like with some MIBR in that first 2 rounds, playing it really fast, trying to set the tone. Both teams kind of changed it up halfway through. MIBR started playing significantly slower, and NIP, well, they started challenging more together. And it kind of worked out for NIP mostly because they found most of those rounds towards the end. We got 3 in a row. MIBR clawing back that final round of mining defense. Now we'll see Julio on the Thatcher, Pino, Sledge, Psycho, INM, Kamikaze. Not playing the ace like MIBR did, actually bringing that Hibana, you get more destruction that way as you get 18 pellets, whereas with the Selma charges, you just get 3. And that can be difficult if you mismatch or miss time, or if somebody impacts a C4 or shoots a Selma charge, well, you're out of luck. So Kamikaze opting for more is better, but also you'd argue you get a slightly worse gun of that than the AK-12.
Absolutely. The other thing, too, with Ace is that the Selmas do at least drop down as long as you're not using them on a hatch or a floor. So if they're on a wall, you do technically, you'll get 6 of them, effectively, right?
It's true, actually.
It might make a big difference for the way that people view Ace as an operator. Additionally, on that Ace that we saw from MIBR, it was a 6-pick off of Hibana to start off with to at least conceal the hard breacher for a little bit.
And you get flashbangs too on Hibana on Kamikaze, and that's the only set of flashbangs that you have. Aggressive jump out like we saw before, but this time works out in favor of the defenders, but then again, Psycho is right there, trades it back 1 for 1. And well, that's a very nice situation, because if you just get punished early on by the aggression, you let them set the pace. Now you say, well, you can jump out the window, but we will be there to respond. A second time around,
way!
back and back and back, and Felipox finds Psycho.
MIBR getting under the skin of NIP. And there's no timeout for NIP to settle their own emotions. Even when they were winning rounds, they still looked mentally like they were not as engaged with the game as we have seen from them before. The one thing that I think you have to admire about a lot of these Brazilian teams is how animated they get when they win a round. And it's something that's been absent from a lot of other teams in this tournament, EU teams in particular. Win and are like, it's just another day.
Yeah. We're used to success, that's why.
NA team starts screaming and insulting their opponents. APAC always seems very jovial. LATAM is a mix of all of the regions. Some LATAM teams sit there. Some LATAM teams are yelling nonstop. Some of them are just super pumped up at themselves. So NIP need to get their heads back in this game despite the scoreline. And those kinds of plays from MIBR on the runouts, being able to play off that information. And of course, Aruni's passive allows her to break a window and go for a hop out very early on. Well, that's mighty fine.
It's another one.
No way! All 3 kills from MIBR this round have been from jump outs. Falls is the first one to get the kill in the building, and he'll get both of them as well. NIP were clay pigeons in that round, getting shot out of the air over and over again. It really was target practice for MIBR, and now MIBR have the lead.
Speaking of setting the tone, right? The first jump out, I'm like, okay, that's just like what Psycho did in that first round for NIP. Then you see the second jump out, Philip, like, okay, that's just super annoying. The third jump out to follow it up as well, it's just getting ridiculous at this point. But the thing is about Kafe defense is that if you can trade 1-for-1, it is typically worth it if you're defending. The attackers, every single operator is so important, right? Because you got Hard Breach of Hibana, you got Thatcher, you got a set of grenades from Sledge, and you got the only flashbangs 2 on the Hibana. So no matter who you kill, really, you'll always gain a massive amount of value as a defender, and most defenders are expendable. You know, it's just a 1-for-1 trade where, well, if it's the Valkyrie, the gadget is down. Echo, the gadget is down. The only operator you really cannot lose is Smoke. That operator wasn't even played in the previous round because, well, MIBR, they 6-pick from the Smoke to the Valkyrie. And even the Yokai drones these days, sure, you cannot actively move them around and use the active, bomb deny or stun mechanic of the gadget, but the drone lives on. It still provides information, just like Retard on this Melusi. The Banshees will still activate even if she dies. MIBR have now set the tone, but now we're in basement. This bomb site works very differently. Not a ton of windows in comparison, or on this first floor, should I say. But I'm expecting a little bit of a roam game at least upstairs because you need to be pressuring on the map. And we see now here 2 players currently creeping around. Make that 3 actually. Or make that 4. They're just adding on, opening up the hatch and laundry. That's a fallback from Cocktail if you want to be roaming top floor. And that we see Melusi up here. Reduct. Has impacts as well, can create rotation. So if you ever get stuck in a corner, there's going to be a safe way out. You just wait here in this corner. Now, it's a testing game. Does NIP drone accurately or do they drone lazy? If you don't check this corner, you will get punished. And if you do check it, well, you might be rewarded with something of a free kill. We'll see early on if they choose to go for it. Right now, Sledge is going away at those hatches, so they'll be droning out, doing a top-down clear. Very common stuff.
Patient game. 45 seconds. Unheard of that these teams haven't got into contact with each other just yet.
Oh, they droned it. Good job, NIP.
They find Raduk up top, playing in Cocktail. It's a kitchen defense all the way on the bottom floor, but teams like to hold that top floor as well. First bit of contact, but bullets go by and nobody is hurt whatsoever. Raduk will be able to get back safely to that bottom floor towards the bomb site. Still fully intact, as NIP, I don't know if they've realized this, but they pretty much have control of that top floor. Yes, there they go. And now the work has to be done on the second floor. And that's exactly where they will be. MIBR sitting safely in the bomb site with a pre-placed C4 as well, positioned to take the Sledge out. What did you say you called dog? Well, I think they might have called it there, as Philiphawks is as good as gone. Pino removed from action. MIBR with the first pick yet again.
Both teams really testing each other, right? The vertical prep C4s, both teams used it. And then this first round, Reduct, he was doing the drone test for NIP. Well, are you going to be lazy or are you going to do it nicely? NIP just showed they can take it slower, drone out every single inch, every corner, but then they fall to this pre-placed C4. There is no IQ on the board of NIP. They have the Thatcher, they got verticality, soft destruction, etc. But there's no way to know that there is a C4 on that area unless you can get a drone into the bomb site itself. And that is very difficult. Good punishment from MIBR. They're kind of reading into NIP and doing a really good job so far in this matchup.
NIP have their hands full here on a map that they have played 4 times so far in this event and just have a single paltry win to their name, being bested by Sandbox Empire and TSM. MIBR looking to add their names to that list, making it NIP's most played map and also the map they've lost on the most. That is not a good distinction to have. As we talked about in the preamble, MIBR mighty fine on this map, and they're looking so. They've got 4 more players from NIP to find. Philippox back into the bomb site. He doesn't have access to a nitro cell. He looks for a single shot onto the head. There you go, knock him up, but a bit of a miss. That's uncharacteristic of Philippox. Nice shot from Raydux, followed up with one by Kamikaze. Down for the count. Psycho above. The retake from MIBR does not go. Psycho now down as well. Julio watches his whole team crumble around him, and he'll get fed to the Lucan machine, or maybe not. Right on the last second, Lucan gets a kill anyway. The clock was going to give the round to MIBR, but instead, the Jaeger takes matters into his own hands to pad his stats with an extra kill. 2 kills, in fact, because if the round had ended, the down from Lucan wouldn't have counted either. So that's 2 kills for the price of 1. MIBR, right now, 5-3. They are very quickly marching towards match point.
It's so nice to see Lucan in that VIP area on the shield getting some action, because often how teams they attack against this is kind of what NIP actually did. You drop the hatch and you push the bomb side, and Lucan inside of VIP is like, alright guys, well, what about me? I can't see anybody, I can't shoot anybody, I'm just sitting here and I need to stick my ground, because if I give up VIP, well, that's lost pressure onto the opponent. So it's nice to see them kind of walk backwards into Lucan's line of sight. He got some kills of his own, had some fun in that round as well. He now is 6-4 on the board, but it really is a team effort from MIBR. Same thing can be said about NIP. Every single player is very close in kills, with the single exception of Pino, who's having a rather difficult time so far. 1-7. He played like flex support and defense, played the castle a ton of times, etc. Now he's on that vertical support duty, and that's where he fell the previous round to that pre-play C4, and now we see Moosey responding with that IQ, and this speaks to the information available. With Valkyrie being open and Echo being used, the IQ now gains a lot of value, and it's still hard to justify actually bringing her, because she doesn't bring any projectiles. You cannot clear ADSs. Sure, you can find them, but that's all you can really do with it. You can try and combine her gadget with the Thatcher EMPs to figure out exactly where the ADSs are, then EMP above them on the roof, and that will reach them with the range. But it's a very tight one. If you miss just a little bit, well, then the EMP won't do anything. And this IQ pick, it has to work out, otherwise you lose so much value in something else that could be brought. For example, another set of grenades, more self-destruction, etc.
Well, Ninjas and Pyjamas again burned their timeout in that 3rd round. They won round number 3 and then called a timeout to try to settle it down, and it immediately worked. They won the next 2 rounds after that, but then MIBR went back to their old shenanigans here on Kafe. There's a lot of conversation about the top performing players in Brazil. Yeah, Palu and Nesk dominate that conversation.
Yeah.
Ali Mao gets talked about an awful lot on Ninjas and Pyjamas. You hear about Pino, you hear about Musi, even Psycho shows up on FaZe. You have that whole roster. Souls, most notably lately, with Cyber up there as well. Philippox always flies under the radar. He does not get the same love at this event that any of the other teams do, and even Fantasy on Furia gets a ton of praise. Raps, Philippox, even Falls in the role that Falls plays on, are standout performers who, because MIBR doesn't have the most opportunities, don't really get that same spotlight. They absolutely deserve it.
No, they do. And it speaks again the volume of talent from Brazil, but
who did I say?
Another C4.
Falls with the Nitro Cell onto Psycho, another person who was mentioned, and just like that, MIBR looking to move to match point. They get a very crucial first pick, follow it up with a second pick right away, and they still have top floor control.
They're not slowing down. It's ridiculous. You would think that NIP would be able to adapt to this situation and punish them, really. But right now, MIBR, they set the tone, and they're continuing up with that trend. Moosey now does trade it back onto Lucan. That will be one operator off the board of Jaeger, but that's the lowest value you can really get. Moosey with another one saying, single-handedly, I will carry this round, NIP. I do this, you do it the next time around. Let's bring it back. 5-3, 50 seconds. Now 3 versus 3 on this reading defense. But NIP, it's all up to you. You need to be the ones to enable the push and set it up. But Philippox, he might be reading the situation too well for you. The flank is coming through, gets one freebie, hides in freezer, and can buy more time for his team.
He knows there's one coming, trying to tussle, but buying as much time as possible. You survive another 10 seconds. That's a huge win, but the opening in the wall by Kamikaze reads out. Philippox down for the count. It's a 2v2 now. But the thing is you've only got 20 seconds to go. And Kamikaze holding on to the diffuser means that if they want a successful objective to be played, Julia will need to 1v2. It's entirely likely that Nip opts to go for kills. And in the middle of the bomb site, with both the players there, the cam not able to spot them, Nip will take up space inside of reading, and there goes the diffuser. Kamikaze watching, hoping that Julio hits his shots, loses it to Falls, and around the corner is Kamikaze, but Falls has no read on it, neither does Raps. They have no idea where that diffuser's been planted. Still in the bomb site, as Kamikaze looks one way, but there's the Valkyrie to soften him up. MPX doesn't do a ton of damage. Raps gets the down on a Kamikaze, that's the round. They just need to get to the diffuser, no honor among thieves. Falls takes the kill, a little bit of accolades paid to them, and it's match point for MIBR.
A little bit worried there for my BR in that 2 versus 2. You know, the Valkyrie of Falls was playing inside of mining. I was thinking he's going to go for that pillar flank once they start planting, and he didn't. And I got worried that they're going to put themselves in those 1 versus 1 positions that NIP are so good at. But Falls, a support flex player of all things, outduels NIP and makes that 2v2 a 2v1. Smoke ran above, did some verticality, tried to figure out where did NIP plant. They couldn't figure it out, but Kamikaze walking through that bomb site got figured out eventually as Falls did a bunch of damage, got the injure, and that was the round. Now we're at match point. NIP. Last time we played Kafe was against TSM yesterday. 1-7 loss. If you lose this round, you have gone 1-7 into a 7-3. That's improvement of 2 rounds. But you need a lot more than that. It's 1st to 7 in this situation, and if you play OT, well, it's 1st to 8. We can still go there, but NIP, they need 3 clean rounds. At the very least, they need 3 rounds to be won from them. Doesn't matter how messy it gets, how scrappy it gets. If they get them, they will go into OT, but if they lose a single round here on out, they will lose in regulation. MIBR, they're going to that top floor. Similar situation. They went top, kitchen, reading, and now back to the top position. A little bit different than NIP, but very similar in fact. We're not going to see the mining bomb site from them just yet. It was only NIP who brought that out. It's a mixed bomb site. Not every team plays it, but few do. In fact, I'll say more than a few, because in NA in particular, they seem to love the bomb site more than other regions, but there are no NA teams here. MIBR doing the same similar setup. They're going to be holding piano, going to be contesting cigar. They're going to slow down the entry points of NIP. They do not have the castle. It'll make their lives a little bit more difficult if they play too aggressive.
Oh boy, NIP are going to have to sit down and have some long looks at the way that they played this cafe, Nick. Up next is also one of NIP's most played maps at this event. No matter what, we're going to see Coastline, which for a long time was one of the finest maps in the pool of Ninjas in Pyjamas, and it really does play to their strengths. Very aggro, very strong. Also, hold on a second here. They are so wary of the nitro cells.
Yep.
That instead of using Pino's hammer to sledge open those 2 rooftop hatches, they just used X-Kairos to do it. So all of these nitro cell kills, maybe NA has the nade kills, but LATAM has those nitro cell kills. You can't risk the sledge. You don't want to surrender that first pick. That's 4 of the 16 available. That is potentially a crucial loss for Heartbreach. You have to accommodate for that somewhere.
It's a really good observation, and not only just like the sheer utility, but also the time it takes, right? You gotta get to the roof, then use your gadget, and then you gotta explode. You gotta fizzle through, and you gotta wait all that time to then start droning. And we see the clock kind of explaining that story for us. Minute and 35 seconds left. Not a single member from NIP is inside the building. We're on the window rappels of Cocktail right now, and we're waiting on the roof, and somehow still Philippox gets the opening kill onto Musi. Rita tracks back as well. 2 vs 0, 3 vs 0. Raps gets a C4. So many C4 kills so far in this matchup.
And the Nitro Cell still killed the sledge anyway, so what are you doing at this point? How about a flawless end to the very first map? NIP are putting in one of the worst performances we've seen since day 1 when they lost to Sandbox. MIBR toppled the defending world champions on map 1 by a score of 7-3. What an impressive showing.
It's gonna feel good, and you see it. hypes all around, smiles across their faces, but they got more to go. It is not this simple. It's not a best of one. We are in a best of three scenario. Coastline is next, and MIBR, well, if you can set the tone the same way you did on Kafe, make NIP scared of multiple things, the jump outs, the C4s, really be in their own head, I think you're in a great position. But that speaks to the first couple of rounds, right? If NIP they do the opposite thing, where they shut down MIBR's momentum, then you answer the question, can MIBR bring it back? Do they have the experience required to really figure out what the issues are, solve them, and then come back at NIP? Because Coastline is a map where, well, it's gonna get lethal.
It absolutely is, but MIBR almost played Kafe like they play a Coastline.
Yeah.
Think about it. MIBR were so much better off-site, playing aggressively, taking gunfights, and engaging on their terms. That's the way that we see Coastline play so much. Now, the one thing going against them is that Kafe is easier to defend on a lot of these bomb sites. So if things go south for MIBR, their anchors are going to have a harder time. But that's just idle speculation. First map goes in favor of MIBR. It was their map. No real surprise there. Will we see a surprise on Coastline? Will the defending world champions be knocked out 0-2 by their first match in the lower bracket? Let's find out in a couple minutes. We'll toss to a break and then come right back. All right, it's time for our second map between MIBR and Ninjas in Pyjamas. Nick, and well, map number one went by pretty quickly, frankly, and it was heartbreaking if you were a fan of Ninjas in Pyjamas. Yes, it was MIBR's map, but Kafe is the most played map by NIP, but not with the results that they wanted. They've lost it 4 times now to just a single victory. NIP obviously having some major struggles on that map.
Yeah, and Coastline isn't that much bit of a story, but before we get to that, let's look at the map summary and the stats in front of us. We see Pino at the very bottom, unfortunately going 1-9, so -8, 20% cost, and 0-3 on that opening kills. And I think opening kills is like the most important stat this game, right? Look at NIP, +1, -1, 0, -3, -3. Go up above to MIBR, +2, +1, +1, +1, +1. The difference is that MIBR, they're playing most round 5 versus 4. They have 1 extra player on the board, and well, 7-3, that kind of explains the story there. Their cost as well, very much within each other's reach. 70 bottom, 90% top. Feldipox, we spoke about him before, the analyst desk as well, saying this guy is so good. And well, he really showed up.
Absolutely making a name for himself, and he's somebody who's been around the scene for a long, long time, never getting that spotlight as we talked about previously. Pino going 1-9 is the standout performance, but not in the way you'd expect in this matchup. When NIP picked up both Pino and Muzi, the idea was to bring on these 2 younger players to carry most of that load on entry. Gone was Psycho on entry. Gone was Kamikaze on entry. Julio, we have those fond memories 4 years ago of him on that flex entry, on Blitz in particular. Those days are also over. Instead, that core that's been together on this team for almost 5 years now, that core of Kamikaze, Psycho, and Julio, for almost 5 years they've been
that long?
together. That long. Almost 5 years they've been together, 4.5 years, give or take. And what do you have to show for it? You got a world championship.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. But you bring on these 2 younger players, the idea is that they're going to carry more of the weight. Having Pino go 1-9 on a roll where his job is to do the opposite of that. A 9-1 for Pino is, not par for the course, but that's what you want to see. Not winning gunfights. All of NIP really struggling on entry. The stats in terms of entry, only 2 first bloods for NIP. 10 of the 10 rounds, 8 in favor of MIBR. That goes to show you, when Pino and Muzi are going to be roaming around, they're going to get shut down pretty effectively, and the scoreline shows that.
That's a big deal. And Kafe, you can argue that maybe not that big of a deal because defenders, at least, they have a good map situation with that map control, but Coastline is a very, very different situation. NIP has one of the lowest, actually, they have the lowest defender side opening kill success, and they also have a really terrible situation on the defensive side win rate. And well, on Coastline, defending is very difficult as it is, but with NIP's stats, it's going to be almost impossible statistically to win any rounds in defense, especially if MIBR are going to be as proficient at finding the opening kill as they were in Kafe.
So, Coastline, as we look at that map, differences in the way that it plays out, expectations to be set. What are the win conditions for Ninjas in Pyjamas? Because I think that's more important right now to discuss than MIBR. Ninjas in Pyjamas, if they lose their map of Coastline, that's it. They're out of this event. Their tournament run is over. If they win Coastline and they win the follow-up on Bank, then we have an SI 2020 rematch of NIP versus Space Station. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves because we got Coastline on the menu. These 2 teams will square off with MIBR looking to knock NIP out of the 6th Invitational. Nick, talk to me. Win conditions for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Well, this is like a lot easier said than done, but you need to get out on the map and really shut down MIBR on the entry, or at the very least control the pace. If you let MIBR just run over you and take every single room that they want all the way up to the bomb site, you are going to fall. The bomb sites on defense are not really something you can hold on this map, so I think a lot of these rounds will be defined in the first minute and a half of the round rather than the last minute and a half of that round. That's what happened against TSM when they played Coastline against them yesterday. NIP, they fell, but they were challenging TSM early. They were really trying to claw their way in, shut TSM down, and set the tone. I have to do the same thing here, but better. Bans are coming out. It'll be a Twitch, Lion, and Valkyrie so far. So a target ban that F2, Lion, an operator that I think both teams were going to bring to the table anyway on this map. Valkyrie, that's the information game. NIP did not have any fun with that whatsoever on Kafe. And then Kite towards the very very end, which is a bit more of an odd one, especially seeing as Thatcher is open, but it will just make your life a little bit easier. If there is a wall that will be denied, now you can guarantee clear them, or at the very least, you know it's a jammer or a bandit charge, which are a lot easier to deal with than a kite claw that could be hiding anywhere.
This is one of those rare instances where every single operator banned on this map is different from the previous map. So these are target bans towards certain players. These are also map-specific bans. I have no doubt that they banned out Twitch against the gunners on MIBR, but additionally, because they can do certain setups now that allow that infinite range of the Twitch drone to not be as impactful on MIBR will be starting on attack. They did not pick this map. They get to pick the side that is an advantageous side on Coastline as of the moment. Obviously, we'd have to reference the tournament stats for it. But the one thing that Coastline has always had the distinction of since it entered the map pool was being a very friendly map to the attackers, more so than every other map in the pool.
Yeah, currently we're sitting on a 41% defensive win rate. So, it is attacker favored. It's doing pretty good, if you will.
That's a big difference, too. A lot of times we see like 45, 46% in favor of the defenders, but 40%, 41%, Nick?
It's the most attacker favored map in the entire map pool here at Invitationals. Only being played 12, however. It's in the bottom of that pool, same with Chalet. Both of these maps have seen 12 times, but, I mean, with Coastline right now, that'll make it 13, so depending on what happens in the stream next to us, well, maybe these are now tied up. Anyway, we are here on the map, on the server. It's a double bar defense to start things up. NIP doing a good job extending up above, still prepping side. A little bit late into the round here, but that should be okay. Unless MIBR rushes, you should be good. And they are spreading out on the map. That's what we spoke about. Win condition for NIP. You gotta shut down MIBR on the entries, not give them ground for free. At the very least, deny some drones and buy some time. That's what they're doing so far. Only one player inside of sight and 4 players out on the roam. Muzi playing that middle ground between Pino, playing in lobby. Have a trifecta status. Julio in office as well. So that means in a triangle area, you got 3 different major assets on the map. 3 major rooms you need to care about. And MIBR doing good drone work. They have done the prep work. 2 drones inside the bathroom will drone out Pino. Yeah, he has a little bit of support from Muzi from lobby, but that's it. So Pino, if you get taken down here, that will be a crucial position for you. You can hold the ground successfully. It'll be really good. Muzi has impacts, can create more angles to help out Pino if they come to go for it. MIBR, they're not getting inside the building just yet, and that's really good. NIP, great start so far.
Oh, talk about a nice shot. Lucas had a couple of these. He had a drive-by earlier on to take out Pino, who looks longingly down the barrel of one of these guns, but Nip find the marks. All of a sudden, MIBR has cleaned out half the server. They sit in a 3v2, very close to being able to pull off and execute. And there you go. Fellapox is assessed. That sunrise bar is
so
open.
Free.
It's freer than North America, my friend. Muzi and Julio far enough back as Fellapox gets the diffuser down. And now in the post plant, MIBR look to lock out the remaining members of Nip. Muzi's the last one left. Julio dragged down. All eyes on the Malusi. Very far away from the bomb site. Sees Rayduct scamper away. Some hard breach being done to open up a window towards that diffuser. Deny Muzi an opportunity as he hops over the bar to serve himself. He gets served by the end of the Zofia. First round goes to MIBR, and they continue their reign of terror from Kafe.
I'm excited for the replay if we get it, because I'm not sure exactly what happened. It looked like from my standpoint that Pino just swung into MIBR instead of letting them come to him. And effectively, if you swing from that kitchen position on the Wamai, well, no one is really there to help you. You sit here, you swing the person out and spawn outside the stock door. You had Muzi inside of lobby with impact grenades holding your cross so that when MIBR pushed in through stock, you have a crossfire. You have 2 different angles of engagement, but instead because you singled yourself out, well, you just die for nothing. And sure, NIP, they found 2 picks across the map other than that, but it was a 3 versus 2 with nobody on side. MIBR, they read the situation, they walked on in, started planting, and well, that's that. That's 1 attack round in the books, it's 1 opening kill, arguably for both teams with those trades being so quickly, and of course, a plant for MIBR. And that's just, again, MIBR once more setting the tone. NIP, just like on the first round of Kafe, when Psycho jumped out the window at Valkyrie, tried to set the pace. But it becomes a freebie for MIBR. Same story here. Pino, he swung out from kitchen. He had magnets, he had a reinforcement, but he swings with a gun. He gets shut down. It's so easy for Luki to hit that shot. And then, well, you look like a fool, right? You had the crush, you had protection, you had a teammate, and you gave it all up because either impatience, greed, or just overconfidence, if you will.
Nib have continuously tried to engage on these roams and start things off with an opening pick, and it failed so many times. We referenced the numbers before we got into this map. Let's do it again. Of the 10 rounds that were played on Kafe, 8 of those 10 rounds, MIBR got the very first pick, and they were not traded back on any of those. Or those were definitive first picks that allowed MIBR to grow a lead from there.
And it's not just on Kafe. This is something that happens for every single map that NIP has played at this event. They are in one of the lowest areas of opening kill success on defense of every single team here. 37% of the time does NIP get the opening kill. That is really bad. The average is about 57, so 20% behind the curve. And on their attacks, they're not looking much better. So NIP, you need to start really making those statistics work differently, because otherwise, this will be a tough series.
It looks like most of NIP have fallen off now. It's a kitchen defense down below. There goes a nade from the bottom floor. I think that's Julio, the one credited with that. Tons of damage to Lukin, and now an explosive will hit. Nip finally break this streak that was going in favor of MIBR, and they get the very first pick onto Lukin, who got that beautiful shot. First pick was his in the previous round.
Yeah, now we're going to see MIBR slowing down. They've been doing this quite well on Kafe too, where when they don't have the advantage, when they lose out on that first pick, they take it nice and slow, they set up the next step, and they try to isolate and single out a player from NIP to try and even back the count. That's what they're doing right now, doing vertical inside of Hookah, getting open the hatch as well. Fall is going to be rotating, as he has been doing last round too. He starts on air of the map, then goes to the second, Raps almost finds the head, but it's not enough. That means NIP, they punish back another C4 verticality. Really is the name of the game so far on Coastline. All that soft destruction is starting to show.
And there's some damage done to Philippox as well. First kill for MIBR comes on to Psycho. Still for MIBR, they've got that top floor control. Throwing in some of the flashbangs, Kamikaze isolated. Philippox coming online with his first kill of the match. Falls now looking for the remaining players of Ninjas in Pyjamas, who headed back to the bomb site. Just under 1 minute left to play. Both of these teams sit into a 3v3, though MIBR are going to be licking their wounds. Rayduck spotted Muzi. Nice shot by Muzi. He ends up coming out ahead, but he takes some damage in the process. Rayduck was the only player on MIBR, Nick, who had full HP. Now, it's just a couple bullets to silence the remaining players that are going to be walking into the bomb site, which Philippox has done. Diffuser in hand, and he doesn't know where they're playing. Pino's still inside of the lobby, outgunned by Falls. Another as well. Falls is on fire. 3 kills, and the Malusi will swing on him, but Falls pivots. I gotta see that one, as what an unbelievable play. Just looking over. Oh, you don't get to see it. We gotta show the people what just happened. That is a deflating round for Nip. Come on, production, you gotta bring it up. Here it is.
Go through the rounds, vertical C4 comes out, the flank, kind of an odd angle to be holding, but Falls here, finds one, finds the second, and that's...
No!
We don't see the third
You
one!
just stopped it! You gotta show the people, man!
Oh,
you gotta show the people.
I'll explain it, okay? He was flicking back and forth between the rotating freezer and that bathroom door, and just the moment that he looks away from the bathroom door, where the Melusi swung from, well, she swings, starts shooting, Falls, takes damage, and outside the scope of the field of view that we could see, he somehow just flicks, finds the head, basically one bullet, takes him out, that's it. Falls, support flex player. You mentioned him at that tail end of Kafe, and he is really showing how much value he can bring, not just in the supporting area of the game, but the sheer entry we needed to. He walked up a hallway and took out 3 players back to back to back, and not just any players. These are the reigning world champions of NIP, some of the most fierce and lethal players in Rainbow Six current history, and it looked easy for him.
I'm being told that we're going to be bringing up the replay of that flick, by the way, so we'll stand tight. Here it is for you. Watch this. Watch. Oh, that was...
Oh, we don't have the other point of view.
Okay, well, I guess we don't have the end of round.
Well, you saw her kind of flick.
You got to see the end of round point of view. I don't know.
Either way, you see the kind of flick happen. It was extremely fast. Very nice shot from Falls. Good job. 5-0 right now on the scoreboard. And Psycho and NIP now are looking to try and get into this situation of this opening kill advantage, because they were active each and every single round. And last round on that kitchen defense, they actually found 2 opening picks. 2 C4s, 2 kills. That was a really great position to be in, but it wasn't enough, because somehow, someway, in MIBR, they find their way back into the round. They slow down at the right moment and they speed up when they need to, really playing both paces.
Bit frustrating that we don't have access to that review replay, so hopefully I guess when they're available you get to look at them, but in the meantime we can just tell you that it's
a nice shot.
Yep.
It was.
Anywho, Round number 3 now underway. MIBR, because of that play, Diffuser was going down in the process. So even if that kill doesn't go in favor of Falls, there's still another player up from MIBR that could hold on to the Diffuser. And what are you doing, Psycho? You walk down the main stairs to peek. If it's open, you see that somebody's there. Now Julio is gone as well. Nipper in free fall at this moment. MIBR making quick work of this. Musy's the next one up. Nice shot by Musy. Losing 75% of his HP. Drops the hatch immediately and gets out of there. The roaming Oryx is something that we see an awful lot on Coastline these days. And if you've got a low recoil gun like the T5 with a 1.5 scope, you're going to be able to do some significant damage. And look at that, the rotate from the Oryx. Kill from Pino equalizes into a 3v3 with half of the round to go.
That's that special passive of Oryx's gadget that you can jump up through hatches and really flank across the map vertically, which is extremely unique specifically for this operator, and he is, as we always say, the fastest operator in the game. The active use of the gadget, you just ram through walls or you just go through a hallway at enormous fast speed. And MIBR, we said it earlier, they know when to play it slow. They're doing it right now. They're setting up the situation, reading it out, and Pino gets impatient once again. I'm not sure if it's desperation or what it is, but you don't need to be moving. You have the bomb side. Nate comes out, doesn't land, and Kamikaze now tossing out those toxic babes. But you got 50 seconds to spare. MIBR, they're still in the driver's seat.
Musy is there, low on HP. No toxic canisters left, as you pointed out. Fellapox unaware of how close this Oryx is, and a pre-fire, but Musy capitalizes. It's Kamikaze to get it, and now it's all up to Musy. Impatience being the name of the game. For but a second, seeing the head on Cool Vibe stairs as now the Oryx will retreat on in. Nip looking against a 3-0 potential lead for MIBR. They need a good performance from Musy at the moment, but there's a lot of angles for him to cover. He knows there's somebody on Cool Vibe stairs. He's got Coryard and he's got Hookah Belk, but he's still looking at Cool Vibe stairs. MIBR punishing Nip all over the map. Will this draw a timeout for Nip again and put them back? It looks like that is exactly the case. We'll wait for the admin's call, but the headset is down. Nip are in serious trouble here on Coastline.
It is a tactical pause. You're reading so well into it, Parker, and it's the same story for the previous map of Kafe. It was after that third round where NIP called the timeout. The only difference being is that, well, on Kafe, NIP actually won the third round, then called the timeout, and then they won 2 of the following rounds, basically taking the lead 3-2. Now they're down 0-3. Taking this time out, and they will need a very similar story for this to work out. They would need at least 1 round, at the very, very least. Ideally, they would want to get 2 rounds. It is an attacker-favorite Coastline, significantly the most attacker-favorite map so far at this entire SI 2022, so it's not abnormal for MIBR to get 3 kills, or 3 rounds. It wouldn't be crazy to think for them to get 4. But NIP, they do need a round or 2 on the board, otherwise when that side swap comes out, well, MIBR just need to get lucky 1 time. Or NIP's players get impatient 1 time, and they swing unnecessarily, giving up that support, giving up that crossfire, and we saw it now 2 times from Pino specifically where, well, he had a really frustrating first map of Kafe. He went 1-9, that's -8. He was 0-3, I believe, or 0-2 on the entry. Not doing very good, and it almost seems like he's really trying to prove his worth in this game on Coastline because he's doing all the unnecessary things. We call them hero plays where I'm from, basically where you don't need to be the hero necessarily, but you want to be the hero. So you swing out, you try and take that 50-50. If you win, it's all right. But if you do not win, it's actually quite bad. So the risk versus reward assessment isn't really there, or at the very least, I don't think it's a fair decision to make where it's like, well, I'll just keep swinging, because it clearly isn't working. In MIBR, they're just holding an angle, and you're making it way too easy for them. Play with your team, establish crossfire, play together. If you want to make a crazy play, take the closest player and say, listen up, buddy, I'm gonna do this. I need you to help me by going over there, shoot, make noise, whatever. Try and get that trade coming instead. If the hero play fails, well, it's a fail-safe. That's what NIP is missing. They've had the timeout, they've spoken about it, but it'll actually be MIBR 6ing into something cheeky, yeah? Sophia to the Osa. We're seeing more and more play from this operator, and Coastline is one of those maps where we saw it being played from a couple of teams so far at this event. You get those deployable shields on the attacking side of things. You can block a window, jump out, you can assess the bomb site. You can kind of play like a mini Munty or mini Blitz where you can walk around the shield in your hands, scout for information, and because you have 2 of them, you can put 1 down, you still have a second to use actively. You can always pick them back up if you're Osa and then relocate them or reposition them. Be interesting to see how MIBR they plan to use this operator, because you can do it in multiple ways. Double bar. Back and back again. This is where we started, by the way. 4th round.
The only good look for Nip so far was on that second round, by the way.
It was.
And it came off of the Falls clutch. Clutches can have such a profound impact on your mental ability to stay in the game because they are very demoralizing. Look at Kansan's clutch yesterday.
Oh boy.
One of the best clutches that we've seen at this event. And I've already seen the conversation online as to how that clutch stacks up in the history of Rainbow Six. I'll let them decide that. I'm not really interested in ranking it. But as remarkable as it was from Kansan, who did all of that in jeans, by the way, as was talked about on Twitter.
Yeah, it was like denim jeans.
Yeah. When you clutch like that, it almost always needs an assist from your opponents. If a team plays a 1v4 properly and they are the 4, it's unlosable.
Yes.
It really should be unlosable, especially if you can establish yourself in a position where you've got a perfect crossfire, because there's no way somebody can pivot that way. But when Falls pulls that off, again, players from NIP taking 1v1v1 engagements, then that can break your spirit. Almost the very first pick on the Psycho. They've got him right now, along with Julio, inside of Office. Raps walks in to toss out a grenade. Julio has not been dislodged from his position, still stuck at the moment. They could head up through security and then put 2 players in that line of sight. Musy's from above to support. That's going to be a big focus for Nip. Like it. He falls off. Defense heavily upstairs over top of the double bars bomb site, as we talked about.
Yeah. And MIBR choosing another challenge. So droning out Office and seeing, is Julio still there? And in fact, he is. And it's a well done job for Julio because he avoided the nades and he didn't really die. And that means that MIBR, they cannot get the entry that they so desired. It'll be Raps creeping around, but he's very low on health. Reduct, using that Osa now instead of Solarium, or Sauna as we call it actually. Just walking through that gate onto side, gonna, I'm not sure, put down his shield, try and stay alive. There it is, Raps gets a kill onto Julio, but there's 2 more from NIP. Kamikaze and Osa cannot fight, but he falls the shield instead, and that's just a bit of a, I don't want to say blunder, but a weird situation to be in. 1v4 for Falls.
MIBR gave up that round really quickly and fell off, and now Nip don't even really have to move much of a muscle or sweat. Nice kill from Falls. Firing up the war machines, but 3 more bodies for him. He clutched last time, but it doesn't look like it's going to be doable this time at all. 7-0, by the way, for Falls through these 4 rounds, and it becomes 7-1 as Pino shuts the door on a comeback from MIBR. Nip find their very first round after the timeout, and Mighty doing his best to just hype up a team that does not look happy to be here.
He's trying really hard. Every time we see the NIP player camps and Mithy really walking behind them, their coach fist bumping, trying to get them inside the VIP, and we see face of defeat really, even though you just won a round, and that is the beginning of what should be or could be the comeback on Coastline. And sure, if you're NIP and you win Coastline, you gotta go to a 3rd map all the way to Bank. There's many, many rounds ahead of us, but basically what that means is that it's a very long road ahead to take this series. Reduct said, I wasn't really happy with my performance on Osa in the last round, and honestly, I can understand why, because it was just really odd. He walked straight through the Aruna Gate, took 30 damage, and then he just put down his shield on side, then vaulted the shield into nothing and died from Kamikaze on the pink bar, and a little bit questionable. So we're gonna try again, and I think it makes good sense. I feel like when you try an operator that's a little bit more niche, and it doesn't work for a single time, you say, you know what, let's go off it. It's not worth it. Honestly, it is. Give it 2, give it 3 rounds max. If it doesn't work, sure, at least you've actually properly given it a good go. But remember, MIBR, they do need to get more attacking rounds. A 3-3 side swap is arguably a failure, or not a great thing to be in if you are starting on the attacking side.
Proxy alarms go off as well. If you can stop MIBR's ability to get into the map and collect these first kills and punish you for it, then NIP seems to find their chances rise quite a lot, whether it be in this series or whether it be in Kafe earlier on. The problem is that NIP is peaking dry. They are continuously looking for intel and then getting punished for it, and that honestly is credit to MIBR being prepared and ready for this. But NIP having some struggles to find that information. I don't know if bringing intel operators is really something that they want to do. Obviously, with Valkyrie being banned, that is a huge intel operator that is unavailable for them.
Yeah, already got us the Echo, which we have seen in the past, and it makes sense because if Echo is safe on side, you can really move those yokais around. You can maybe keep one close nearby for side information, keep that second one for the roam. It'll grant you some information. You can even dedicate it to specific players saying, oh, drone this room for me, and I'll follow the drone. Kind of like if you're playing on attack, but on the defense. And NIP, they're still spreading themselves thin. They're holding map control. They're actually doing a really good job at contesting MIBR. They're not getting what they want, so MIBR had to get scrappy. They gotta go somewhere else and find a different way into the map. And right now, that's Lukid, of all players, who's inside security with one friend behind him. Musi, kinda stuck on his white stairs, can of course walk up, but certainly cannot walk down because then Lukid might just find him. He walks on down, but Lukid misses. That's a rare sight to see. Musi looking to get active, but doesn't want to challenge too much because they understand that they have the advantage, they got the map control. In MIBR, they have to make the first move.
You absolutely do, you're right. This is the same pattern that Musi always goes with. Go upstairs, pop the hatch in security. If you drop, they'll hear you. That very first kill of the very first round is all Lukid has to his name, Nick, and that's not ideal. The leg of the Oryx drawn out, but there's a spam ping behind him. Musi could have gone for the pinch. Instead, maybe a drop into security is just what the doctor ordered. Still, we're riding along with Musi. This has been what the big focus is on this spot. Still there. But there's a site to execute onto. Everybody is still upright right now. Second attempt at Kitchen, and I gotta say, the last time Nip went here, they looked really good. It was the false clutch that really won it out. There's some damage being done to Lukid, and now Musi is finished off by Falls. MIBR, the opening pick, immediately answered back, but then swiftly retraded, with Psycho going down to Raps after taking out Rayduct. Once again, MIBR with this upper hand. 40 seconds to go. These three players from Nip, relatively off-site. There's one from Kamikaze, heating up potentially. MIBR looking for a decisive win on this first half. Lukid inside of the main lobby. There's some dilly-dallying from MIBR at the moment as essentially a reset happens before an execute can come in. Odd pacing from their team as to what they want to do. You've also got Pino on the roam who's now going for the flank. There's Falls on that roll. Down goes Kamikaze, and Julio off-site with a single kill to his name will need to hit 4 in order to win out on the round. Potentially even 1 kill if he can stop Fellabox in his tracks. There's an impact grenade, but he gets swung on, and Lukid picks up a big and pivotal kill. First half will go in favor of MIBR with 1 more round to play.
I will say, the read on a flank there from MIBR, they had 15 seconds left, and they're standing still waiting for the flank to come through. They get the pick, they make it in their numbers advantage, then they go to side afterwards, because had they gone to side first, well, then the flanker becomes a problem. Very well read from them, and early in that round, the opening kill that happened on the side of MIBR, it was Lukid inside of lobby, kind of challenging Musi, was hiding with that Oryx inside security, and Falls rotated all the way across the map to office double door, walked into office and came in behind Musi and took him out together with Lukid. MIBR really playing the map extremely well. They're basically using every single second available to them. It's getting really close some rounds, but as long as it works, you can't fault them for it. Penthouse will be going through the full bomb site rotation with this. NIP showing us that they can go everywhere on this map. And Penthouse has seen, well, some seasons it sees a crazy amount of play, and then some seasons you never see it. But there was a rework recently to this map, namely inside of VIP. You now got 2 reinforceable walls to the outside of the building. Last time we saw this map, or previously before the rework, those weren't there. It makes VIP more accessible. You can deny the walls, you can play a bandit, play a mute, play a kaid, etc. We don't see it this time around, but it is a possibility. And with this change, we've seen more teams go to Penthouse and try and make it work. And it's seen, well, mixed results, if I would have to guess. I can check the stats right now, and as we see here, Penthouse Theater actually is the most defender-favorite bomb site on this map, 62% win rate, but only played 13 times. So it is one of those niche bomb sites. You gotta come in with a plan, and then execute that plan. If you do it successfully, well, you will win. But that means that teams are typically more prepared for exactly what they want to do, because, well, you can't just wing this one, I don't think. It requires too much setup. We see Fellabox open up that VIP wall, but it's not for an entry, it's just for an angle. Those holes are way too far up on that wall. It'll be a rappel angle, if anything. Basically meaning it's kind of like a one-way where attackers can look in, but defenders, they can't look out to that same amount.
Well, well, well. A fateful final round, and again, this is NIP's map. we like to contextualize it so far. Nip picked this map and have played it so far 3 times through this event. They only have a single win on it, which might seem a little odd to those of you watching. Why would you go to a map where you lost to Empire 2-7, you lost to TSM yesterday 5-7, and you barely beat the Sonics 8-6? I mean, I guess the loss to TSM was a little bit close, just as the win over SQ was, but unless you think that MIBR have some major deficiencies here, all of a sudden this becomes as good of a map for you as it was, then it seems like a suspect decision. NitroCell goes out, down goes Rayduct. As we talk about the strategy as to why Nip picked this, the very first pick does go in their favor. That's ideal on their end.
Yeah, MIBR going for a more direct approach right now. We did see Rita drop that bathroom hatch, and now we see a Gemini to follow, takes out the Renegade. Nade from below, almost finds Pino, does a ton of damage, and MIBR, they're clearing out the shields and the utility. They've taken that guitar control and bathroom. They're planting now. All of a sudden, somehow Felibox is inside the bomb site, and the bomb actually goes down.
In the corner, and now a post play and a quick scramble. MIBR have their ducks in a row, and I didn't know what we were watching there, but I guess you ever get killed so hard you get banished to a cam outside the building? Because that's what happens with ninjas in pajamas. Holy hell in a handbasket here, Nick. It's 5-1 MIBR. Nip are 2 rounds away from being sent out of Sweden on a plane.
I thought that round was going to be slow. It looked like it, right?
It sure
and all
did.
Of a sudden, Felibox in the bomb site starts planning. 7 seconds fly by. Successful plant from MIBR and NIP. That early C4, it did get the opening kill. But then you have to ask yourself, well, where's the C4 that's supposed to take out the planter? What happens with the bomb deny? Once Felibox gets in, how do we then clear him out? Well, it looked like that round from the little that we saw, there wasn't really any response. Or if there was, well, then MIBR shut it down because I didn't see any. Now we're going to see the side swap come out. It will be MIBR on the defense, and they'll have to show us if they have what it takes to take down NIP. We'll have to argue that NIP gotta get the exact same side swap as MIBR did. A 5-1 situation here takes us to 6-6 OT. So we can very easily compare the round differentiation between being a tagger favorite or not. And NIP against TSM, I believe it's a very similar story. TSM were up 5-1 or 6-1 for quite some time. But ultimately, as you said, Parker, it was a 5-7 loss to TSM. So we'll see if NIP can do it all the way this time. We're starting double bar. Same story as NIP. They also chose that bomb site was their most successful, arguably. They did manage to lose it. Or sorry, there was only bomb site that NIP won the second time around, not the first. So yeah, this bomb site is the only one that's been won for Defenders so far.
Well, it's the only defensive win as well. So, I mean, how much can we really... To be fair, it's a 5-1 half where MIBR are so dominant. Nip, again, burning their timeout. Same round as we saw in Kafe all the way back in round number 3. So, again, if Nip finds themselves losing the plot of this half, they've already lost the plot of this map, and they need to pull off a 5-1 half just to secure overtime. That is very tough to do. Very, very tough to do.
I like the Nomad. It's actually being brought off from NIP. It's something that MIBR banded away on Kafe, and then they jumped out on their defense. This time, Julio can play the operator, can make sure that these kinds of runouts can be covered if you put the air jabs in the right position. And we saw MIBR on Kafe. They got extremely aggressive in that early round. They know that opening kills are arguably in their favor. There is no air jab, there is no opponent. Door gets barricaded again. You don't want to give NIP that open entry. So barricading doors is certainly something you can do on this map. And NIP doing a similar fashion of that of MIBR, playing it slow, taking map control, droning it out. They do not want to be the first one to lose a player. They need momentum.
Well, the opening picks have actually been quite even, straight down the line. 3 for both teams apiece. There goes Lukid on the roam. The Oryx was roaming so effectively for Ninjas in Pajamas. Musi had 2 more bodies on Cool Vibe stairs lined up with Pino there as well, but neither could find a single kill as MIBR will now scramble back into the bomb site below. Some of the floor being opened up in pings as well for Rayduct to play off of, but he's unsuccessful in what he can accomplish. Kamikaze there.
That's unlucky.
A moment of silence, please. All right, we maybe get a go. Felibox blows himself up with a nitro cell. Maybe he just really didn't want to play this round. I don't
I mean, it is a bad round because like once the Falls gets broken up from the attackers, there's nowhere safe to be. I mean, Falls here in this default position of pink, that's the only location that you will just not get absolutely destroyed from above. And as time is ticking down, well, we see MIBR. They're leaving the bomb site because there's nowhere to play. And now you gotta wonder, well, MIBR, how are you going to come back? Is there a flank? Is there a C4? Is there a crazy play happening somewhere? No, it's just 3v5 and you're scrambling to find the opening here. And NIP, they're not giving it to you. They're playing it nice and tight and slow. So far, that is working out very well for them.
Oh, and there you go. MIBR finally get on the board. The sledge of Pino taking some damage, but a misplay from Radok not looking as to where the sledge was. As you said, once that floor gets taken away, you have nowhere to sit. Falls an equalizer onto Psycho, but still the numbers favor Ninjas in Pyjamas with nades going on down. Trapped in the corner is Falls. It's Raps to clutch, bursting into the bomb site. Diffuser going in the common spot from the courtyard. It's Julio to get the final kill. Nip have struggled on this map, but finding a round or two to start off this half is exactly the momentum that they need to grab hold of.
And they got the opening kill. They really had everything going for them. They got the map control super early with a double kill advantage. They did a ton of vertical play. They cleared MIBR off the side. Really good nade from Pino there. Arguably won in the round. Allowed himself to drop the hatch into lounge and really start accessing the bomb site. And that was that. Now we're going to see what MIBR can do in response, right? We said it earlier, you cannot play passive on Coastline. The bomb site itself does fall every single round. There's no strategical way to really win a single bomb site on this map. Maybe if that's your banned and you got a Kaid, you can trick that VIP what we spoke of earlier. But when you're defending Kitchen, there is no real way for you to be like, oh, sit in this corner, cast a barricade that window, shoot over here, now we win unless they mess up. No. If they get top floor control and all they get lobby control, they do verticality, well, it's over. Because you have to evacuate the one thing you have to defend, the bomb site, to be alive. If you stay, well, with the entire floor being broken open, you will eventually get found out or droned out and then shot down and you're dead. That's also why we see teams often extend our ball, reinforcing the hatch here as well, meaning that once NIP takes control top floor, they'll have to breach the hatch to gain that angle to drop down into the lobby. Kamikaze, bringing out that Ibana, can breach tons of walls, tons of hatches, is the most dynamic or versatile hard breach operator in the game. You also get 3 flashbangs as well, and that's something that you always want because projectiles are great, clearing ADSs, Womai discs, etc.
All right, so Ninjas in Pyjamas, a mighty fine first start to the round. MIBR kept it somewhat competitive, but then ultimately lost out after that very first pick, and then the snowball that happened. It was tough for MIBR to once again find their footing. This was something that was touched upon before we actually got into this map, was that Kafe can be a very free-flowing map. It can be quite good for the defenders, especially if they roam effectively, but the problem is that if your roam doesn't do well, you can't waste as much time on Coastline. It's not as big of a map.
Can't.
And if you lose out on the roam, your anchors are sitting ducks on most sites. Whereas on Kafe, there are a couple bomb sites where the anchors are still perfectly equipped to pull off a late round clutch.
Not the case here. Opening kill very much matters, and the first minute and a half also dictates the rest of the game, because if you can stop the attackers from entering, well, that's one of your easiest ways to buy time and win the round. And MIBR, they're actually falling back really early. Both of these first defending rounds, the second IP to start assessing their area on the map, well, they give it to them. They fall back to the next room, but NIP, they only want a few rooms. That's all they need. Then they start verticality, and then you start winning as an attacker. They got VIP, they got Pendas, now we see Pino with half the round to go, start to work on that floor.
Smashing above now is, again, the sledge is so crucial. Watch out for nitro cells that can get tossed out. They need to be a little bit better than Fellapox.
No C4s.
I was going to say, it didn't bring a C4 this time, so I don't think you need to worry too much about blowing yourself up. That's very smart to essentially, child-proof the bomb site.
Yeah.
Half the round down, the sledge still upstairs, and you don't often see a sledge run out of hammer swings, but Pino is getting to a point where he's below half and could find himself losing out on them. Oh, there's a ping on to Lukin, who gets away. Pino doesn't want to re-engage. You've got a job to be done with a minute to go. You cannot dawdle and spend your time wasting it on an Oryx.
Yeah, we only see one player from MIBR on side, that's Falls. 4 players roaming, still trying to hold on to this last few areas of the map, but Moosey says that doesn't matter. LMG in hand takes out Redock, and that opens up the round for NIP.
All of a sudden, NIP finding the score sheet with 2 big kills to open it up, as you said. Raps is the next one in the line of sight on Cool Vibes. Staring down a battle of the death against Musey. Nice shot from Musey, a slow peek. Lukin with one on a Kamikaze. Kamikaze, but he's the last man standing. Can't get anything onto the Nomad of Julio. Diffuser is down. Luca is in a terrible spot. A tenuous hold. 1 HP is all he has. And he gets swatted away by Psycho. Nipbar a little bit excited by this. You hear a cry from the player area. And suddenly, this is a much closer matchup. The attackers absolutely crushing right now. They've won all but a single round on Coastline.
Welcome to defending on Coastline. It is not a very fun job to have, especially if you got SMG-11 shotgun, because you're up against such good guns from the attacking side. I remember, back when I was a player, the one map I despised the most to play was Coastline, despite having a team success on the map, because the role that I had was to play the smoke, was to play the mute, and you just find yourself sitting in corner thinking, oh, it's gonna be one of those rounds again. My roamers are dead. We're playing 5v3, the floor above me is getting opened up very quickly, and I can't do anything about it. I had to stay in the bomb site because if I evacuated, well, they'll just walk on in for free and start planting. But if I stay, I also know that I will not be here for much longer because, well, I will die eventually. So it really comes down to the early round. Can the roamers get something done? I mean, you can play 4 people offside just like MIBR did, but you need to find somewhere on the map to hold on. They started inside a theater, but the moment NIP dropped the bathroom hatch and walked into guitar, they ran away. They gave the ground up, and they really didn't choose anywhere on the map to fight. It was very much like an NIP getting close to side, finding kills on their way. But if you fortify a specific location, like we see now with the mirror, VIP getting reinforced, that's much, much better. Something you arguably should have done in the previous round. Now in NIP, they have to problem solve, either rotate somewhere else, not attack this side of the map, or if they do, they gotta figure out, well, now there's a mirror window. Okay, let's use Ibana. Oh, now there's a Pyjamas on the mirror window. We need to get a nade from below. And you're creating all these issues in their path that is much more bigger than just gunplay, hit a headshot, walking through a door with confidence, and that is how you're gonna get them. The more obstacles you can put in the path of your enemy, the higher are the chances of you winning the round.
All right, another bomb site now for MIBR, who have really failed to figure out a defense. You have to think that if this doesn't go well, MIBR calls a timeout here or their next round just to try to figure out what's going to go on. You don't want your team sinking into that quicksand a little bit too much. You've shown on both Kafe and now here on Coastline as well that you can be the better team. You do not want NIP finding their footing, and that's exactly what NIP is starting to do. Their players are waking up. You've had a much better performance from Pino. Instead of going 1-9, he's sitting on 7-5. And has found space on this team while also doing his job on these 2 rounds on attack. Sledge is a very crucial operator because of the abundance of soft destruction on this map. You're going to be going through walls, you're going to be going through floors, dropping nades down to clear utility, while also moving those defenders off of the common spots. As long as you can dodge what is beneath, whether it be a nitro cell, gunfire, etc., that Sledge is going to continue to be one of the most important operators on this map. Pino's doing a good job.
It's really good from Redog, by the way. All the way back in Arcor is peeling off these Ibana X Kairos, allowing Falls to play on this Vase position. Both impacts have been used. It was a direct-ish take from NIP. They cleared out the shield. They want to get this wall really badly. And they spent 12 X Kairos so far with 6 to go, and successful defense from MIBR with 1 minute and 15 left to go. It's looking better for them, but NIP, they haven't shown up yet. They will choose their moment to get really aggressive, and then the round will be over very quickly for one side or the other. A slight rotation from NIP as Musi will try and figure out where he wants to go next. We got 3 players on that hookah balcony, 1 big window repel, and Musi coming up the white stairs, so split take, if anything, from NIP.
Luca is posted up on those stairs as you talked about, waiting for somebody to walk up, and we can see the silhouette. Musi was so good at the slow peek before. There goes Raps to a grenade from Psycho. It does not force either player to budge right now. And there goes Musi, taken out by Rayduct. Luca doesn't need to be in this position. Down goes Fellapox. The action happening. 30 seconds. Most of it off screen at the moment. Fall still posted up by the bomb site. Third time's a charm maybe for MIBR, but Nipper just slicing right through them like a soft knife, hot knife through butter, and there he goes, a double from Kamikaze. Julio, one of his own as well. Nipper suddenly awake, and we have ourselves a ball game. 3 rounds in a row for Ninjas in Pyjamas, and just like that, what did I say? It's timeout time.
Oh, there it is. Time and time again to no prevail. You get it right each and every single one of those, Parker. Well done to you. But there is no reward for guessing when these teams take their tactical timeout, except for just the fact that you have Gigabrain.
It's too nice of you to say that, but...
MIBR get to talk a little bit. We get to stretch and figure out what is next. Well, NIP that round, they played it very slow, but eventually what they did was that they walked in through that aqua balcony into sight. They found the opening pick onto the, only player inside there. Pino opened up the round with that vertical grenade. You spoke about how important Sledge is an operator, the gadget, the weaponry, of course the grenades as well. You have arguably the most important role of any operator on Coastline. Buck used to be a similar story, but Buck has now since lost his frag grenades, and therefore he has a little bit less value than Sledge these days, and it's hard to fit inside your lineup. Yes, he has that can opener, secondary heartbeats gadget, but that doesn't really suit this map in particular, but it's much better for the likes of Oregon, for example, where you get those hatches, because that's where the heartbeats gadget gets the most value that you can get. We're actually here in NIP right now talk, because when one team calls a timeout, the other team can also talk to their coach. So Mithy, talk to your players, get them back into it, because remember, NIP, they did spend their timeouts rather quickly both times on that third round.
As you said, the only successful bomb site for the defenders has been the double bar site, and that's where MIBR is going to go here in round number 10. They have not won any of the 3 sites that they've gone to. The rotation started off with double bars, but then they went to kitchen and cocktail. Nothing really working out. All 4 sites have been played. The very final defense from Ninjas in Pyjamas, I would say in a desperation attempt, was upstairs on Penthouse, and they started off the round very well, getting that opening pick, boxing out MIBR with their utility, especially towards Hall of Fame and the bathroom drop. But eventually, Felipox gets in, gets the diffuser down, and MIBR are posted up, and VIP they're posted up inside of Hall of Fame. And the remaining players from NIP, who now try to re-enter the site, are waiting to die effectively as MIBR have the sight lines through all of the areas back into the bomb site.
I think I saw a smile from the players of NIP.
Ooh.
Like an actual smile on their faces. It did take them, let's take the clock real quick, an hour and 45 minutes, give or take, for the first smile to appear, but it has indeed appeared. So if anything, this series starts now. With both teams being happy and smiling on their faces, I would say that we are now in the prime position to watch a great game of Rainbow Six Siege, because if the players are having fun, I'm having fun, and then we're all winning. But of course, besides just that, we gotta see good gameplay. We saw that really well-played Kafe from MIBR. They had a good first start to Coastline, but as we all know, it is an attacker-sided map. NIP looking a lot cleaner on their attacking side than that of their defensive as expected. MIBR, going back to bar, is the only bomb set that's won by defenders, as Parker stated earlier, but that was NIP who won the defense. MIBR have yet to win a single one since the side swap. It's been 3 opening kills, going to NIP, and 3 rounds as well.
I don't know exactly what you need to do to get your team back in this, but a lot of the things that MIBR were doing well on Kafe have not materialized here. They're not roaming effectively. NIP are not face-checking angles the way that they were when they were on defense, so maybe it just is an information game that we're seeing unfold. These teams could be totally starved for info and playing blind most of these rounds. That's entirely possible, and it sure seems like in a lot of these engagements that the defenders just simply don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, they're just sitting there, right? Kind of waiting for NIP to make the first move, and I do think you're right. I do think that there is a lack of information. You got the proximity mines on multiple defenders, you know, Raps on the Wamai and Luke on the Oryx, but you don't have any actual concrete visual information. No bulletproofs being brought out, no yokais, of course Valkyrie's banned, so you're going to be guessing, well, what is going on? Where is NIP? And you're only really going to get what they show you. And they're playing their cards kind of close for that exact reason.
Oh, opening up the wall, and there goes a grenade now as well. NIP again starting off with another opening pick. They have been flawless on this second half in terms of getting that, and because of it, they now lead in opening picks 7-3. A good, strong start for them. Rap's position inside of Sunrise Bar, throwing out the 2 magnets to protect him from any grenades that might come on in. NIP will now put Pino upstairs with that sledgehammer in hand.
Could he use that magnet earlier?
Could have absolutely used that magnet earlier to maybe keep Falls alive. Falls has been the standout performer for his team, a number of clutches, playing on operators that are not always the focal point for their teams. On defense, playing much safer, often sheltered roles. On attack, playing that secondary flex role, droning his teams in, taking some time, etc. I like what Falls has been able to put together, but the fact that Felipox is 3-5 on this map, I will say playing much more of a support role, is not ideal for the team. Rayduct has not been particularly good either on roles that necessitate killing.
No, and I mean, Falls is one of those, like, support at day, clutch god at night kind of player, and we see that from the likes of him and Souls from FaZe, but right now, Felipox, you know, gonna be walking around fearing again every single window, respecting the fact that there might be a player from NIP up there, or out there rather. Limited vertical play this time around. NIP is mainly on the first floor of things, and Felibox trying to get up those cooler stairs. The same action MIBR did last time when they found one pick and they got traded back. But right now, it's vacant. There's no one really up here. There's one side beside a pool table. That's a nice shot from Felibox to really even back the score.
Pino will be sitting there thinking his own thoughts as now Muzi walks in. There goes the Banshee, making some noise. Kamikaze gets traded out as Psycho gets dropped. There's Lucan and Rayduct as well. MIBR's timeout is paying dividends. It leaves Kamikaze to clutch in a 1v3, but the clock will be his biggest adversary, as will Felibox from above. If the timeout buys you a single round, at least you've guaranteed overtime. It is impossible for NIP to send MIBR away in regulation, so though we have 2 more rounds to go. For both of these Brazilian teams, if MIBR wants to go out, you got to do it now. For NIP, you have a longer road to go. At minimum, 4 more rounds you need to win in order to just push us to bank.
I feel like NIP might have overcomplicated that round. You know, they could have done the same working formula as the last time, and especially because the opening kill from Pino with that grenade, it was false. That's a smoke player. That's like the only real side deny once you start planting. But they overcomplicated things. They got top floor control, they did the verticality, but then they left it. Sledge was staying up above, he got taken out by Felibox as we saw, but they didn't make use of it. They even breached the wall on Sauna into bomb site default plant position. They didn't use it. They were elsewhere on the map, outside on blue window, flanking kitchen, when I would argue they could have just walked on in, started planting, held the ground, used the vertical angles that they did the last time around, and had that same kind of success. But NIP, they read the situation differently. Maybe a lack of information, not knowing exactly where the pieces were, and that's okay. But now we are on this match point, series point situation where MIBR, they gotta find one more. And right now, they're gonna try and make Hookah that bomb site. They have played it before. It did not really go that well. They tried to defend it. It was NIP going Hookah balcony, tried to breach the walls, clear the shields, etc. But ultimately, it was Pino's grenades the last 3 rounds in a row to find the opening pick. He's really showing up after an abysmal performance on Kafe. Pino, well done, buddy. Keep going.
All right, well, upstairs to cocktail, no penthouse or theater on the menu at all for MIBR. The double bar bomb site still having that distinction of being the only bomb site that has been won by the defenders. Nice drone work, and there you go. Rayduck gets spotted, and the Vigil, almost as if he has a gadget to prevent him from getting taken out. Well, he's as good as gone. Again, NIP with these opening picks. So far, 5 through this second half.
I mean, Vigil was like proning next, almost on top of that drone. It's just really unfortunate. He probably didn't check the corner really late there. And, well, this is kind of the story from MIBR. They're trying to play in these, like, passive corners. And sometimes it works, but right now in Coastline defense, it hasn't worked a single time. And NIP, every single opening kill since the side swap.
Oh, there go 2 of the magnets. 3 of the flashbangs get tossed on in. And Falls has to scoot away from his position. Not able to play as confidently as he wants. It's a lot of utility burned by NIP, and because they are magnets, they're not going to be coming back. So you don't have any real ability to prevent that again. Nice impact grenade by Falls. Takes a little bit of damage, but at least gets the X-Kairos that we're trying to pick away at the reinforcement right next to him. Still under fire on Cool Vibe stairs. There goes a drone as well. Nades primed and ready. And it goes. Wraps blown up from below. Again, the smoke taken out by a nade. MIBR have yet to find a single player from NIP.
No, you're just playing in default positions. You make it too easy to nade you out. No yellow ping, no drone needed. NIP are just so good at knowing those common spots from down below. They've been studying the floor, which really helps you out when the grenades are so lethal.
Now Falls is pushed up to watch the doorway upstairs at Hookah, and he sees the Hibana, but is unsuccessful. Don't have too many angles to watch. There's a Gemini. Bodies being thrown his way. One on the window, one on Cool Vibe stairs, now taken up. And it's Muzi to assert some dominance here. He's got a big play and a cross as well to boot, so nobody can go from VIP to the bomb site. Julio under fire. That's the rat-a-tat-tat of Lucan all the way back inside of Aqua. Now Falls stunned out. Muzi is collapsed upon by Felibox, but traded back. NIP finding everybody but Lucan in a 1v4 to win the map for his team. He gets a kill on the Psycho. Beautifully done. Julio is on 1 HP. Diffuser going down in the hands of Kamikaze, but Lucan is really trapped. And there's Julio to seal the deal. We're going to need 12 rounds. Suddenly, NIP in a much better position to push this into overtime.
Okay, well, 6-5. NIP looking alive, I will say. And I can hear them as well. So that's boding really well for them. Much like you mentioned, desperation from NIP when they went to Penthouse. Well, while you guys watch the replay and this beautiful nade from down below, once again from Psycho, not Pino this time, they're also hovering the Penthouse bomb site. So is this an act of desperation, or do you have an ingenious plan to make this bomb site work? Well, Felipox bringing the mirror makes really good sense. This is like the classic operator that you would argue that you need for this bomb site to really work. Of course, there are multiple ways to play around it. Of course, Kamikaze has the Ibana. You have verticality from lobby if the mirror window is inside of the theater itself. So, NIP had to do a little bit of tinkering, a little bit of problem solving. Last time when MIBR did set up this entire defense on Penthouse VIP, it was not challenged by NIP. They did not want it. But this time it's the bomb site. They have to. And we have yet to see this kind of attack coming out from NIP. It's been very simply focusing upon the grenade kills, right? The opening kill itself has been so important, been prioritized for them, and they've gotten it each and every single round since the side swap. It's a very, very different story than that of Kafe. NIP looking so much better, doing so much better. We still gotta go this round, go into OT. Then NIP has to win 2 out of 3 rounds to take the map. Then we go to bank. Similar mirror windows, exact same ones we saw the last time. Gonna be defending VIP and the bomb site itself. They also have 1 C4, 2 C4 to deny the plant, and they have falls on the smoke. So if you do not lose important players to those grenades like you did the previous rounds, MIBR, you're looking good. But if NIP gets these openings with the grenades again, well, it's going to be the exact opposite, and you're going to have a really bad time. Wall gets opened.
VIP wall getting opened up immediately. That's 6 of the 18 X Kairos that are used on the wall. Still 2 full sets available for Kamikaze. It's also forced the player that we saw from MIBR out of VIP. But on this position, you see Rap sitting. There's a mute jammer right in front of him to give a lack of information for the attackers. Intel has been the name of the game. Also, a Mira in play. This is the nice pocket strat that you see pulled out with the matchup on the line for MIBR. It's more dire straits for NIP. Keep that in mind as they are the team that currently trails.
Curious what exactly Psycho is doing on that rappel, because he's like kind of sitting and waiting and watching, with none of the windows really being open. But regardless, NIP opting for a clear from the hookah side, making the way on through, and they'll be doing a roam sweep. This makes sense because otherwise you gotta face those minnows head on, but no, it's Luke to fall first. Kamikaze gets the opening pick. Had Luke gotten that operator, that's the only hard breach off the board from NIP. Huge skill. It's a gamble, but it doesn't work out in favor. 5v4, once again, NIP gets the opening kill each and every single time.
What a dominant second half. 4 Ninjas in Pyjamas. They've now got every single opening pick the entire way down, and they've got 4 of the 5 rounds that have been concluded. Another one would be that 5-1 scoreline as we talked about, which is a rarity, but something that we've actually seen a few times more at this event than I feel like we've seen in seasonal play. That league play, obviously, a little bit different. There's a Nitro cell, and it just misses onto Psycho. Both he and Kamikaze are low. This means that when they go for the defuse plant, a bullet or 2 would be enough to kill them. Also, Fall still has all 3 of those toxic canisters in pocket, which means that that can very easily take down Psycho or even Kamikaze. On Kamikaze in particular, you're not going to be anywhere near close to getting that diffuser planted with that level of HP.
Time is taken, Parker. 40 seconds left. NIP can feel the pressure. They're playing it much more slow, much more safe, and it might just bite them because there are still 4 players to defend, but
they dropped in bathroom right now. MIBR about to get swept off of their feet as NIP are there and ready. Now they're down below inside of the bomb site. Pino's still in there. Toxic gas lingering in front of his face. Black Mirror has been forfeited at this point, but Rayduct and Falls looking from this long angle. A swing from the Echo here might not be a smart plan. There goes Falls to Kamikaze. Overtime very much in play. The Echo lines up with 1. Can't get more than that. It's all on Felipox. Now dropped by an air jab. Kamikaze successfully getting the diffuser down. A flawless 12th round from NIP. They are finally fired up, and in this match, it was a 5-1 scoreline for MIBR. Now they're the team in free fall.
all right. Well, I guess the big question now is who gets attacking side start? Because looking at the numbers here, that seems to be the very heavy favor. And you guys can see it, so I'll let you guys wait for just a second here. But would you look at that? it will be NIP continuing their streak on the attack with MIBR on the defense. That means that NIP will get 2 attacking rounds if they can win the first. And MIBR, opposite story, 2 defenses. So, while you get to choose the opening side, well, you don't get to choose the overtime starting side. That will be the choice of the person who picks the map. And that, of course, was NIP. So MIBR, you get a good start. You get the side you want. But you get what could be a very harsh ending because of that.
Oh my. Not ideal for you at all. And, well, you got a feel for MIBR. They used their timeout. They won a single round off of it. 2 5-1 halves on Coastline.
Yep.
That is an absolutely dominant map for the attackers. 10-2 in favor of the attack at the moment. And yeah, you're absolutely right. NIP getting 2 rounds on attack in overtime. That might be the ballgame.
It very well might be, and both teams, or rather neither team, has really been able to break apart, well, what is the success that we're missing, or rather the key to success that we're missing, because I wouldn't really go as hard to say that MIBR has tried that many different things. They've tried the mirror setup, they've tried without the mirror setup, but the one thing that they've been keeping up, which is a bad thing I think, is that they keep taking these 1-versus-1 gunfights. On that previous round of Penthouse Defense, when Luke had flanked Cooler Stairs, there was no follow-up. You could have timed the C4 from below while walking up the staircase, basically slow down the focus from NIP so that they don't all just turn to Cooler Stairs and take that 50-50. But no, you just walk up, no C4 comes out, you take the gamble, you lose the gamble, you lose the round. It's not good. Luke again roaming alone with no help in sight, but this time around, nobody from NIP is there to respond either. Redog doing the same thing in Penthouse. It's a kitchen defense. MIBR, can you hold the ground? Can you find confidence in the round? Because otherwise NIP will take the ground and they will eventually try and work their way to the bomb site. We're standing still, we're droning, we're checking, we're breaching walls, NIP being methodical right now. Not something that I would use to describe them typically, but they're showing their strategical side and problem-solving skills right now.
They absolutely are, and they've opened up one of these walls. MIBR have surrendered the opening pick every single round on defense, Nick. Every single round. That is, well...
It's wild.
That's not good, is what it is. You don't need to be a color commentator to dissect the stats on that one. If MIBR can either just stay alive, really, just stay alive, your odds of winning the round soar. And there you go. The very first time we see MIBR get an opening pick on defense, and now Pino is downed as well. That looks like it was a nitro cell that went off. Pino can crawl to safety. Will there be a follow-up? Is there any information as to whether or not they've been able to take out the sledge? Additionally, of all the operators to down, the sledge is so crucial. Looks like Pino should be retrieved. It's a scramble from Velopox to try to get back up top onto that top floor. Psycho greets him, and now Pino is back as well. Spam pings on in, and that forces MIBR to scramble. They might have got the opening pick, but NIP have immediately pivoted, and they are in good spots.
In fact, NIP are arguably in the advantage now because both Lukid and Raps are so low on health. Sure, Pino is as well, but they have no way to respond. They have one impact left from Redog, no C4. So if that one impact can do some damage and maybe take down Pino, that'll be a great round situation for you. But as long as he's alive, well, gonna be in for a bad time.
Not exactly a great one. There's an air jab that goes off as well. Julio knows that there's somebody up top, and that's good enough information for him. This is a kitchen defense. No team has won on this bomb site on defense. We'd like to remind you the double bar is the only bomb site where it's worked out. Nice shot from Kamikaze, or well, it actually looked like Psycho was the one who got that shot, just the kill feed going in at the same time. Tons of damage being done to MIBR, and there you go. NIP's guns on attack, hitting their marks. Lukin and Rayduck, the last two are left alive. Diffuser being carried on in. Down goes Psycho. Lukid still on this rampage. Diffuser being planted. Rayduct can see him. You just need to wait. There you go. Save time. And the diffuser is down. MIBR at the last second because of NIP not watching the lobby. They stopped the diffuser at the last second. And MIBR again goes to match point.
They stole the round from the hands of NIP. That was their round to win, right? They clawed their way back throughout the round. They lost the opening pick for the first time since start or going to that attack and starting side. And now, well, you see it here. Redot makes his way on through, gets the injury. Another one more to follow, and oh boy, MIBR. There was a round to win. That's the one to do it. Now you're on the attacking side. NIP, they have to show they can do the same thing. Somehow win. The only defending side that they will get in OT. This is do or die for NIP. And if they manage to do it, they get to go back on attack for the very final round of 7-7 scoreline. But first we gotta get there. Psycho 6 picking from Goyo to Goyo, then to the Legion. This speaks to NIP wanting to get out of the map, deny entries as they did the last time around, right? You're basically making MIBR take all their time and utility, just like MIBR did the previous round, but, well, NIP, they've been better at it so far. Their defenses looked arguably better than that of MIBR when they were on the defensive side themselves, and they're going to Bar. Again, until that last round of Kitchen, Bar was the only bomb site to have found success, and NIP did it first, and they want to do it again.
What a tense moment here. Both teams defending Bars twice. They have a 50-50 win rate.
Yeah.
One successful win on attack for MIBR, then NIP wins on defense on this bomb site. NIP wins on attack, and then the only round that MIBR won was here again back in round number 10. With the way that this is, a single round victory for MIBR is excellent.
Yep.
As long as this remains a 50-50 coin toss of a bomb site, MIBR are in a significantly better spot in this round than what comes next. Because if that's the case, NIP will have pulled off what is an unbelievable comeback in this map, and then Bank will be our third decider between these two teams. MIBR is a younger team. They've had success before. They finished in the top 4 of SI, if you recall, but it was NIP who knocked them out. This is as much of a revenge match as you're going to get. So, we'll see exactly what they can do. Or NIP didn't knock them out, knocked them down, I believe, to the lower bracket. It was TSM who knocked them out. But it was NIP who won that best of 3 at SI last year. So this is very much a revenge match still.
Yeah, not just that, but I mean, we always speak about the domestic matchups. These teams know each other so well, and they all want that LATAM victory. Of course, I do think that LATAM is a region. They're just happy if their region can end up winning the entire thing. But of course, each and every single player wants their team to be the one to get that victory ultimately. MIBR, much like NIP, playing a little bit slower here in OT. It's a different kind of ball game once you're here because the stress is higher, the pressure is on, and one mistake is going to really cost you now. In the beginning round, well, it's the first one. We can lose the first one, that's fine. But now, well, if you lose, you're in for a really bad future. Of course, MIBR, they got more room for error because they get one more round even if they lose. But NIP, this is do or die. This is it. Moosey breaking that hatch in security. He loves to open it up and play on this top white stairs inside of security.
He usually does it on the Oryx, though, but in this time, it's on the Malusi, as you said. So impacts instead of the Bailiff in hand. Malusi, not as versatile in the roam as I think you could say from Oryx. All that is happening off-site, and Pino's playing this small angle. This is a very good spot for him to be in. Some of those grenades get tossed into service. Still waiting. More getting tossed in, this time from the kitchen window. Breaking through that utility. Felipox knows exactly what he needs to do. He's done this before. He walks right in. There they go. They catch off onto Pino. Now Raps is down for the count. Psycho still inside of the bathroom. Heading back into the courtyard. They'll circle in on Raydux, spamming away. The Nomad falls so strong, leveling up. And there's MIBR cleaning up Ninjas in Pyjamas. Kamikaze can do nothing. Julio well off site. This is their SI gone in the blink of an eye unless Julio can clutch in a 1v3. Diffuser in the hands of Felipox. They know where he is, and they kill him just as they've killed the chances of a repeat performance. The defending world champions are out at SI. MIBR a clean 2-0 over their fellow countrymen Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Oh, you see it there, the loss. I think the pressure Parker played a big role in this, right? You see it. They know that if they lose this match, then their chance of getting or defending their title even slips away. There will be no back-to-back reign for NIP. It will be somebody else to take the crown this time around. It's gonna feel bad for them.
Pour one out for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They were on a heroic run last year, but since then, they have not looked like the same team. They finished second, ultimately falling to FaZe Clan in Sweden. FaZe is in the lower bracket, as were NIP. Neither of them are hard-set favorites to win this event, but MIBR beat expectations. It's not just all about Ninjas in Pyjamas. MIBR were a team that proved that they could be one of the best in the world. Fourth at the 6th Invitational, having that freak injury with one of their players having to play on controller, and then their coach subbing in, one of their players catching COVID and being unable to compete. It has been a frustrating year for MIBR, but there's something about this event that just brings them back to life. And despite the stumbles on Coastline, MIBR find it in the final rounds. NIP's momentum completely blunted, and that's the Ninjas going home.
Yeah, so MIBR really making a statement, but they got more to do today, Parker, because with them winning this matchup, that means they play SSG later on today.
Absolutely. We could have seen a rematch of the 2020 finals. Space Station came out ahead of Ninjas in Pyjamas, as people will recall, and SSG pulled off what was effectively a reverse sweep to win the hammer. It's not going to happen. MIBR later today goes up against SSG, but before we get there, we got another match for you. A break is ready, and then some analysts to break down exactly what you witnessed. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.